Hey guys, it's Mo in the deep end here. Pray for me now at the hour of my interface. Bill, you know, Bill Gates and all the other people who were involved, especially Al Gore. Please pray for me because I'm just learning how to use the internet. Today, as per all the times and usualness in this duct tape and prayer production, we are scrambling to try option Q. Option Q is that we will be watching the long form videos that Court TV has put out, I believe in the afternoon or after their terrible coverage yesterday. I tried to do the 900 Dodge Ram commercials and I still don't want a truck. Can you believe it? I'm shocked and appalled at myself, my lack of patriotism. Hi, Thierry. Yeah, so today instead of live streaming, I guess so. I figured it was going to be a pretty short crowd just because we've got a lot of people getting ready and going back to streaming. But what we're planning to do this morning, at least, while I'm trying to find if Law and Seaward has a stream of this case going forward, what we will probably be doing with this particular Walmart case is to watch the long form videos that Court TV puts out like the day after. So today we're actually going to get to see all of the opening statements. I know you're shocked. You are shocked and appalled to think we are going to have to be watching these opening statements in the full because who knew? Who knew we could do that? That was just strange and weird that, Court TV could do anything beyond talking and blabbering to themselves. Oh my good lord, did they blabber? It is a lot of blabbering. So, without further ado, and God, I hope they take whatever filter. Y'all, I thought I had tech problems. You know, if I knew what that meant, I'd be very upset. But yeah, the court feed looks like it was run through a baked potato that was made in the microwave. Nothing against, but I'm a purist. You put foil on that and you put it in the oven for 4.5 hours and you forget it. That's just about how I am with baked potatoes when I can have them, when I'm not low carbing it. Y'all, we are just gonna hope that it gets better because y'all, I don't know how to change doodads. And maybe, well,
Welcome back to court, ladies and gentlemen, after your
or
marathon
not.
day on Friday. That was
What
that
in
was
the
a long
actual
day.
court TV? Do better.
The trial this week is going to involve the incidents that led up to the
Swear to
death
good.
of Riley Menente Powell. He was an
Swear
18-year-old
to
man.
goodness.
He had a young child, just entered adulthood, and he lost his life on October 19th, 2020.
Damn it,
We're
Rosie
going to
O'Donnell
show you
slash
the evidence
Roseanne. What it?
today of what happened before his death, at the time of his death, and after his death.
Oh, hi,
We're
Billy
going to hear
Murray.
from April
Yeah.
Zelenski.
So
April Zelenski is
let me see if there's any settings that are like, for the love of God, it's on auto. Let's see if we can bump it up. Well, that seemed to do
the wife
jack
of
all,
Bill
but
Zelenski. They had a residence south of
well,
town on East Road,
I've been
and
going
Bill
through, I did
Zelenski
the
raised
selections
exotic
and I'm going to
animals.
the,
He had reptiles, venomous snakes,
I just think that
a
for the love of all that is
wallaby,
holy, Court TV,
all
get it
different kinds of
together.
animals. April was the breadwinner in the family, and
You
he
know, he actually looks better
traded
pixelated.
and
I'm
bought
just
and sold these animals.
okay. So, Billy Marie, this is our first in the series of what in the Walmart court cases. So, this particular pixelated gentleman that you can sort of see was formerly known as Wild Bill Zelenski, an exotic pets and reptiles dealer slash pet store owner. So he was married and dating And as you do, I guess, apparently Dominique is the model of the world. Well, why is it clear on this and not on the I hate you, Court TV. Oh, she was an exotic ew, she was an exotic oh, he was. I get it now. Ta-da. Uh, pretty much. So, he and, Side Piece were searching for someone who done stole a bunch of their animals. I believe it was a crocodile, a boa constrictor, like, things that I'm not gonna pick up unless and I'm hoping for this trial, and I feel bad because someone lost their life, is I just wanna see the video footage of them, uh, shoving, like, venomous snakes down their pants, because this seems like it's gonna have a whole lot of Breaking Bad influence, if you know what I mean. Any Anyhoozle, him and Side Piece, who happens to be the mother of one of the 2 suspects in this, reptile theft, tracked down her son, and it's alleged that the mother held the son at rifle point while Wild Bill confronted him, but somehow in all the shenanigans, Wild Bill gets the rifle. He claims that it was an accident and, um, Riley was, lunging toward him and there's gonna be DNA on the rifle according to the defense. Anyways, it's a whole lot of Walmartness. I mean, to the point where we had to have a family tree breakdown because we're still confused. But, we are definitely so the plan for this trial, because it's Plan Q now since we went to A, B, and C, is to cover this kind of a day behind when Court TV puts out the long form videos like they did with the Joel Guy Jr. case. Hopefully, Law and Seaward will pick this up, or David will get the direct stream from the things in, uh, the thing in the court that has just the stream, but until then, we are flexible. That's what comes from having 6 children. You just learn to go with the flow. Hopefully, this court feed gets better, or we'll just start chatting about random stuff. Because
Bill Zelenski also had a girlfriend, Tiffany Powell.
what in the actual I hate you, Court TV. We're buffering. You know, it is a duct tape and prayer kinda thing
For
here, but
your
you'd think that Court
marathon day
TV would
on
be better.
Friday. That was a long day. The trial this week is going to involve the incidents that led up to the death of Riley Menente Powell. He was an 18-year-old man. He had a young child, just entered adulthood, and he lost his life.
Well, I know that David had had emailed her. I don't know if he got any feedback back. So, I sent him a message, but he's also got a trial stream that's getting ready to start fairly soon too. So, it is what it is for today. Hopefully oh, fun, and it stops from time to time too. It is like they had me coordinating this, I promise. There was no Mo except for, like, right here involved in these shenanigans. So just listen.
On October 19th, 2020.
The
We're going to show you the
prosecutor looks like either Roseanne or Rosie O'Donnell early 1990s. So that's always a plus. Sounds kinda like her too, to be very real, but I will give you the play-by-play of what these people actually look like when they're not pixelated to hell.
evidence today of what happened before his death, at the time of his death, and after his death. We're going to hear from April Zelenski. April Zelenski is the wife of Bill.
Well, they both are from Wisconsin, and I love Sue Opper, mainly because she reminds me okay, this is terrible to say, but you know the mom from The Goonies? of the, like, bandits, she reminds me of that mom, which is, she wasn't maybe the most attractive woman, but just like, "I will backhand you, and we'll still rob this bank," kinda strong woman energy.
Bill Zelenski.
Oh, I
They
know.
had a residence south of town on East Road, and Bill Zelenski raised exotic animals. He had reptiles, venomous snakes, um, a wallaby, all different kinds of animals. April was the breadwinner in the family, and he traded and bought and sold these animals. Bill Zelenski also had a girlfriend, Tiffany Powell.
I love that he had a girlfriend dating and married. Y'all, I don't this is all just yeah, nearly every witness is in jail. We tried to do court TV yesterday, and it was about 97% commercials and commentary, and 3% the actual court trial. Like, they would cut in the middle of an MFing sentence. I was gonna lose my mind. Thank you, Billy Murray. Yeah, how the hell was he a former cop? There are so many questions.
Address, there
And
was an
Mountain
apartment in the
what in the
building on Main
actual
Street.
court TV?
April
Imma need
lived
you to
at the
deal with
residence on East Road. But sometimes April would be in.
I am not stopping it, y'all. This is just what court TV do y'all need me there for quality control? And what in the actual are this can't be real. Just when we thought we figured things out. Come on now. Are you just no, no, my internet is good. I've got so Mr. Mo did something with the cord where he plugged it right into the butt of my computer. I don't know, but wait, maybe it's now if it could just play, could we just play just a little bit? I hate you, Court TV. He was messing up all my
Had
plans.
broken.
Well, at least we got to hear about the wallaby. E I told him well, yeah. Alright, let's see what we can do here, 'cause the Court TV is trying to kill me.
He heard phone calls coming in. Now, April, Bill, and Tiffany are all together.
Y'all are it's y'all. Alright, so pretty much. I look, you have to explain things, and if I can make a dirty joke out of just plugging the internet right into my computer boxy thing, I'm gonna do it. Why?
Right here is the triangle where it all happens.
I cannot with you, Court
This
TV.
picture shows a little
Thank
better
you.
that triangle. So this is the rec center in
Hey, Dali,
Wapaka,
it's your painting right here.
and this is
It's more
Dan Street.
impressionist, but
At some point on October 19th, Bill became convinced that it was Riley and Ashton who had taken his animals. And in fact, they get a phone call from Ashton's
okay, let
mother,
me see if
Angela. You're going to hear from Angela.
Salvador
We
sent
brought
me
her from
another,
prison to.
feed, so maybe this one will be better, but Court TV has yet to impress me, and that's me with, like, none of the internet skills. I am okay, let's see if we can okay, it looks like it takes a good 7 minutes for them to get in their groove because of course it does. Why do anything professional, Court TV? I really don't understand. How are you going to sell Dodge Rams? These people are making me insane. Let's see if this works this time. This is the link that Yeah, this is the link that Salvador sent me, so
And then she had Riken, who is 11 now. So he was just 8 or 9 years old back in 2020. And he's always resided with his father.
his
So
father.
Rowan is with Tiffany. And
Okay,
on
y'all, even with her trying to she needs a whiteboard for this family shenanigans right here, because the family tree doesn't so much fork as it goes in a circle and runs around and has loop-de-loops. Yeah, so, it Murph's Turf has done God's work, and she has made a who's who, slide, and I will pull that up
during
after
this
this
time,
because
Rowan is a typical 11-year-old boy who's being raised around adults and he's listening. So you're going to hear from Rowan today. And you're going to hear Rowan's perspective of what was going on and what he heard.
oh, come on, Core TV, you were doing so well marginally well. Maybe it just
Or they
doesn't like
hadn't paid
her.
their fines. So at some point, they were both placed under arrest. But the jail didn't want them because it was COVID. So Ashton was
When the
released
jail
right
doesn't
away,
want you.
and Riley was taken to the jail, but he wasn't booked in. The municipal court in New London said, we'll just give you a new date. We don't want to put people in the jail when it could be COVID.
Yeah,
So
okay,
when we look
I
at
mean, honestly, they're not gonna put your butt in jail with, like, hardcore, I don't know, serial unalivers for iguana theft. Dude, try to go into prison. Not that I have been there, but I have watched half an episode of Orange Is the New Black, and tell people you are in prison for stealing some damn iguanas and a crocodile. Because I need to see that videoed. Oh, no, I can go off the rail just by my own self. Because now I'm picturing these 2 hardcore, thieves having to tell the people in the county jail what they're in for. Y'all, I would change that. I would say I knocked over a liquor store, allegedly in Minecraft. I'm not telling people I shoved venomous snakes down my pants, because this is the only way I see this happening, and a crocodile in my shirt. I'm just not doing it.
at the map, and the sheriff's
He does
department
look
is
better
down here.
pixelated.
Rowan
Sir
left
is
Riley
rocking
left
6
the sheriff's
hairs
department, and he started
into that
walking
front
home
spike thing
because
that
he
people
lives
did in
up
the
here on this
'90s,
street.
guys.
Riley
Court
starts walking
TV.
home. Right here is the triangle where it all happens. This picture shows a
For
little
Jesus,
better
of
that
course.
triangle. So this is the rec center in Wapaka, and this is Van Street. At some point on October 19th, Bill became convinced that it was Riley and Ashton who had taken his animals. And in fact, they get a phone call from Ashton's mother, Angela. You're going to hear from Angela. We brought her from prison to talk to you
Yeah,
today.
y'all, this
Angela
every single
found,
witness except for, like, the wife is brought to you from the the county hotel, if you will. They are all, um, well, unwilling unwilling guests of the state, if you will. It is Yeah, I would definitely be making up. Eh, oh, believe me, I remember the little comb and you put it up and the boys would have the little spikes in the front, and I just spent way too much money to see if I'm actually have curly hair and I can make that a thing. There is an entire science behind it. I Mr. Mo's gonna be like, "How much did we spend in curl stuff?" And I'm gonna be like, "Sir, it is all tax deductible, and, you don't wanna know. You can't handle that truth."
exotic animals in her basement. She didn't know where they had come from, but she tried to find out who owned them and for somebody to get them out of there. She didn't want them in her basement. She gets on a call with Bill and April and Tiffany and says, the animals are in my basement. You need to come and get them. She had a residence on Highway 10 at the time, and she lived, that little mall with all the little old-fashioned houses. She lives right across the street.
Oh, dear Lord, this prosecutor is me. No, it's sweetheart, it's over by what used to be the Kmart, but now they put that Five Below in. Okay, you're gonna go cat a corner to the CVS, but not the Walgreens, down by the Krispy Kreme. This is how I do directions. So this is, you know what? She's growing on me. Roseanne is, she's making me feel at home.
Street from that. We've all passed that many times. She said, I'll park at the end of my driveway with the lights on so you can find my house, because she had a rural house. So at this time, April's on East Road with Rowan. She's babysitting. And Tiffany and Bill are going to find the animals.
Okay, what the hell kind of relationship do you have where your side piece's son is babysat by your wife? Now, you guys, we are going to, as soon as Court TV releases the, videos of the first witnesses, I don't know if this woman has just stuffed all her emotions completely into a little ball that's going to explode out in a Snapped episode. But the wife is definitely, if not augmented calmness through pharmaceuticals and Jesus, then she gives no Fs and it's just like, yeah, I'll take care of side pieces, son. Not me.
So they start out from the downtown business and they start driving down School Street because they have to head out to Highway 10. But walking down School Street on his way home is Riley. So Bill and Tiffany are driving and Riley's walking. And when Bill and Tiffany see Riley walking, they turn down Van Street right in front of him. So supposedly the big concern is the animals, and we have to get the animals, and we have to make sure they're alive and they're fed and they don't hurt
Yeah,
anybody. But they take a
she
detour to
just
confront Riley.
make it make sense to me. I'm confused.
Riley sees them and starts walking down Van Street. Now, Van Street is significant because right here in this house is where Tara Dalrymple lives. She is the grandmother to Riley's son, Jackson. So Riley is.
Y'all, this is supposed to be in Wisconsin, but I have a feeling that this is straight from Kentucky. His side pieces, I just okay, this is 10 degrees of 7 of Kevin Bacon, but you have the side piece, her oldest son, Riley, apparently shacked up with this one chick, and so the grandmother of the grandbaby, it look, y'all, I need a whiteboard, I need a whiteboard, I need strings, because none of this is making sense. But this must be a town of, like, 6 people, and most of them are in lockup.
Is very familiar with this house. And Bill and Tiffany are familiar with that house. They had visited that house earlier in the evening. Riley walks down. Bill gets out of his car. Bill and Tiffany both get out of the car. Bill has a loaded 12 gauge shotgun. Double barreled, a short shotgun, easily maneuverable.
Not by you two.
It has a
Good Lord.
flashlight on it.
It has a flashlight. No, sir. No flash.
He has that in one hand, and in his other hand,
Oh, I hate
he has a
everyone.
stun gun.
Well, I mean,
So he goes after Riley.
so I'm gonna need to. It might be comments like that. She's like, "Look, y'all, I would help you, but I've seen your chat and you're all degenerates." And I find it funny, but we don't wanna be affiliated and or associated. Eh, we'll make do. Okay, so if I'm understanding this straight, he's got a rifle, a double-barreled one, because apparently whatever, with a flashlight on it, because that makes super duper more scary, and then also a stunt this man is one of those people you see okay, he's a little bit fluffy-ish, but, you know, you see him in Walmart, they've got the tactical holsters on the outside so everyone knows they're carrying, and you're just like, "Sir." Um, oh god, don't make me choose. Yeah, she probably yeah. Well, but do I count as media? Oh, for F's sakes, of course they are. Let me see if I can get this up now. Tab 100, 'cause it is just again, look, it is a Duct Tape and Prayers production over here. We are not always the the most prepared and polished. Though I have contacted the local high school to see if I can, um, train some, young students in how to do real life, and, they help me with editing. I feel like it's completely, a win-win. I teach them how to navigate real life, and they do all of my work for me and as far as, you know okay, I am not seeing it on Law and Seaword. Let me see if Wisconsin. If you have the link, send it in Discord since Lord knows I am about all the done with things. Yes, please send link if you find it because I am not pulling it up right now. Thank you, Salvador. No, I'm not cruising high schools. I'm simply there are all the people that are much better at all the tech than me, and I'm willing to give them real life experience of, adulting that oh, yes, they are. Okay. So we are going to um pitch this because holy God, can so we will probably not be hearing the opening statements until Law and Seaword does the stream, but we now have day 1 or day 2 of this particular case. And now I've got to switch around the things so I can David sent me a whole thing on how to do the whole, cover up all the stuff. And y'all know. Thank you, Salvador. Y'all know I can't be trusted with remembering the things for anything. So I trust my chat. So let's see. I always love how Law and Seaward gets like 110 minutes of wall panels, but it's clear and we can see. Y'all, do we need to chat about this? Oh, you did? Yay! Okay. He's I I take no responsibility for what the chat says, even if I find it hilarious. No, I believe we must have a discussion as to why he's wearing his wife's readers and that hairpiece. That's Th it works The Lord works in mysterious ways. We are fine. We will have fun and watch This Morning, and then Salvador, if you want to help me do There's the wombat. That's what happened to it. We're sorry, excited utterance. That's what happened to the wombat because all the mink, as Broken Baker has told us, got, unalived for COVID. As you know, we do. Strange. We are a strange Yeah, but did you see the wombat jokes coming? Because I think we might need to have a serious talk about the the judge's hair. Oh, okay. So another super duper side note, real quick. So my brother-in-law, because I usually don't tell people in my real life what I'm doing, but my husband told my brother-in-law before I was trying to tell him, like, we don't want people I know knowing, because but anyways, he's like, "She's on there just making fun of people's hair." And I was thinking, "Sir, you came in for the Mo experience, and you've known me and you know me in real life. I make fun of everyone in my head usually. My face may say some things though." All right, let's get back on track. Oh, he is not looking very, he doesn't give me great confidence and judgeshipness. And here I was hoping to get a deal on, like, a vest or something, but no. Yeah, that was all the ridiculousness. We are starting at the beginning. I want Indigo wins, Wallapiece. So, I'm glad y'all are here. If you're a mofo or a motivator, remember to spread the good news of Mo in your life without getting a restraining order. His hair is dead ass or his chair is dead ass purple.
You ready then, Ronnie? Okay.
Mics, people, mics.
Um, Steph was asking.
Okay, can we get to the trial? Um, so all of 4.5 people in town that aren't in jail are here at this particular trial. This is the gentleman unpixelated, and I'm just saying that, he had a I know, I do want that chair. Okay, Salvador, that was pretty good.
We will go back on the record in the matter of State versus Zelensky. Is there anything to address before we bring the jury in?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
I can say Dr. Kovac has no criminal record.
Okay, they're laughing, but y'all, seriously, the one chick they had on yesterday, and hopefully they will, um, have the stream from yesterday. Hopefully they will do their law and C word thing. Chick had 26 convictions and was excited as hell to be there. I mean, I guess it's kind of a field trip, so who knows? Y- Again, I'm telling y'all, like 1 out of every 4 witnesses that we sort of got to see yesterday were not in prison uniform. I know this is This is like all of if Walmart and Jerry Springer had a baby in a court drama, this is what it would be. And for those of you across the pond, Jeremy Kyle. That is a face that looks like he has a van down by the river. And he's a judge, so I'm trying to be nice, but if I saw that particular smile with the Kubrick angle, I'm not stopping. Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. All right, sir, are we actually okay, the jury is in. Oh, also, people that weren't hanging out with me yesterday, the jury was so bored after or during the first witness, I believe during, uh, direct and or cross, whatever they call it now. Look, I am a layperson. The jury asked the judge if they could start deliberating. This case is just it has to be a troll. We have effed something up in the matrix. One of y'all touched a button somewhere and it's gone all the pot.
Please be seated.
Oh, and our
Good
Wild
morning,
Bill
members
is
of
in a
the
wheelchair
jury, and
for
thank
a
you for being here
reasons.
promptly. Ms. Isherwood, you may call your next witness.
I would call Dr. Adam Kovac,
Adam.
who's strapped in.
Yeah, he look oh, dudes, sirs,
Raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
my gentlemen, people. Look, if you're going bald, just go all the way. This is, oh, this became a new. Yeah, he's like, I know where some puppies are. And my youngest would sell all of his siblings out for
Do solemnly swear the testimony you will provide
for a
will be
new
the truth,
puppy
whole truth, and nothing but
and
the truth, so
candy.
help you God.
You give that kid a Kit Kat and a kitten. He's like, my family has all kids.
Could you state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Adam John Kovac, Covach.
Okay, you guys, does he not? He looks like he's been convicted of several crimes. He looks a bit squirrely. Maybe that's just his general demeanor, but maybe he's nervous.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What is your profession?
I am a forensic pathologist and the chief medical examiner for Fond du Lac County.
I'm going to show you what I've.
I work with
marked,
patients
what
that
has been
don't
marked
talk
as
back.
Exhibit 30. Can you identify that exhibit for the court?
This is a copy of my curriculum vitae, basically a resume for.
Okay, so
doctors
if
and
it's this
lawyers.
particular person that you're asking about, that is Wild Bill, the defendant. If you're asking about the person that just came on to the witness stand, he is the forensic pathologist that's going to explain how the decedent unalived. Though, I mean, most of us would just say, like, he got shot in the heart, but this is the guy that's going to do all the trajectory and directionality and such.
Can you briefly go over your qualification and education to attain the position of chief medical examiner?
I
Okay,
started
yeah,
off
it is a little
getting an
confusing.
undergraduate degree at Marquette University in clinical laboratory science. After working for a year, I went to medical school at the Medical College of Wisconsin and graduated from there in 2013. After that, went to an anatomic and clinical pathology residency at the.
Y'all, this man speaks fluent Klingon. Come at me if I'm wrong, but this man he like knows Orthodox and layperson Klingon. I'm just saying.
At the
And maybe
University of
Ferengi
Wisconsin
too.
in Madison. During that time, I realized that I wanted to pursue a career in forensic pathology. So after my
I don't like patients that talk back.
4-year residency, I did a 1-year forensic pathology fellowship at the University of Michigan, where I split my time evenly between Ann Arbor and Detroit. After completing that in July of 2018, I started working at the
Why buy new if you can
Fond du Lac County
reuse?
Medical Examiner's Office. I also took and passed my anatomic, clinical, and forensic pathology boards when I needed to take them.
Are you sure about that?
And
You don't seem sure
What are
about
the general
much.
duties of the chief medical examiner of a county?
Chief medical
Okay, this woman is true to life, Kathy Bates in the beginning of Misery when she's, all nice and put together. I'm just saying, and or my middle school or my middle school geometry teacher. And no, Miss Fleener, I still don't understand the Pythagorean theorem, but I've never had to use it since your class, so I was right.
medical examiners or coroners will determine the cause and manner of death.
And in order to do that, you perform autopsies?
On some cases, yes.
So there are some cases you don't do an autopsy.
There are many cases, especially natural causes of death, where an autopsy isn't necessary. If somebody walks into a hospital with crushing chest pain, and the tests that confirm that they're having a heart attack, there's not really a need to do an autopsy in cases like that.
I wait for the really
I'm going
strange
to hand
cases.
you what's been marked as exhibit 31 and 32. And could you identify those documents?
Documents.
Exhibit 31 is a copy of my autopsy report on Mr. Menente Powell, and Exhibit 32 is a copy of the blood results from the toxicology.
So in exhibit, excuse me, 30, without being too graphic for us lay people, can you describe what happens in an autopsy?
An autopsy begins before I even look at the body with learning the circumstances surrounding the person's death.
He does have a Gran Tomato look with him. I still want to see what Sylvie looked like. And I know there are pictures out there. I'm sure there are pictures. But she better look better than the yeah, she's a lawyer. I really should. My husband keeps telling me I need to go to law school, but I can barely do a YouTube channel without 8 people barging in. And, my youngest son, if you're on the Discord, y'all saw it for uh, MLS Law Show, but he took the extra cord or the extra hosing from the dishwasher that my husband had to buy a new hose for, and he kept yelling, like, "Bow down against my testicles of fury." And I had to say, "Sweetheart, the word you're wanting to use is tentacles, not testicles." But he's like, "No, I'm pretty sure it's testicles." So we had to have a 5-minute conversation about tentacles and testicles. Parenthood is fun. You say a lot of things you never thought you would have to say out loud. But we did end up with tentacles of fury, so that it all ends well.
One of the things that they pound into you in medical school is that a good
Phrasing,
history
sir.
will get
Pound
you
into you in
80% of the
medical
way to
school.
a diagnosis. Everything else, physical exam, lab tests, everything, is just to confirm the suspicions of the doctor from that initial history. And my equivalent of the history is the scene investigation. So there's a lot of times not all the facts are known, but just a general gist of how's the body found, what do we think happened, stuff like that. I then will examine the body externally, looking for signs
Well, I would
of
hope that we'd at
injury
least
or
find out what even
disease,
happened.
and document my findings on a note sheet. After that, I will examine the body internally, examining the organs sequentially, weighing them, again,
I
looking
also
for the
sniff them
presence
a
of
bit.
disease or other competing causes of death. At some point, I will also get samples for toxicology testing. After the case is done, portions of organs will get sent to a lab in Milwaukee to get turned into glass slides, which I will later on review about a month or so after the autopsy is performed.
Okay, y'all, that has to be the most awesome and creepy job ever. Like, what do you do for a living? Can you imagine being on a blind date? Look, so we get sent pieces of organs that have been autopsied, and I turn them into glass slides. I basically cut dead people up for a living. Um, I'm surprised they don't get many. They probably just say I work at a lab. I work at a lab.
Thank you. I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 36. You can bring that up. Now, this is a snapshot of a video.
Not a snapshot.
It's not very clear. Were you provided with this information of the position the body was found in Mr. Menente Powell's autopsy?
To my recollection, not at the time we performed the autopsy, but a couple of weeks ago I was.
Okay, so I displayed Exhibit 36, and the position the body is found as a pathologist. Why is that valuable?
It gives you an idea of how of what happened at the instant that a person died. So let's say, for example, there were some scrapes to his forehead. Being found in a position like this would explain that. As he was falling, he struck his head against the blacktop and produced that injury.
Would that have some bearing on how high of a distance he fell from?
The degree of injury, yes.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 33.
Well, at least he's doing a better job of not making faces today, because he was making all the
This is a
faces.
picture of Mr. Powell's armpit, basically, showing the entrance wound.
What conclusions can you draw from the picture?
That this was a contact range gunshot wound. The barrel of the gun was pushed up against his skin at the moment it was fired.
And how can you tell that?
There is what's called a muzzle stamp to the northeastern portion.
Lefty, did we just become best friends? Because if we can relate anything back to Red Dragon or Hannibal, not Hannibal Rising though, but if we can take anything back to really good, bad, if we can put anything back to Buffalo Bill, I am all for it. No, this is Law and C Words stream. So I'm hoping that they will have day one reconfigured. I think everyone was off for the federal holiday. So I'm hoping that they will come back because Law and Courts or Court TV's long form videos that I was using for like the Joel Guy Jr. because it kind of broke up into openings, statements and things that the other things were going on. Their video quality was about at my video quality, so yeah, this is definitely I don't know that this is going to be as good a witness as they think she is or think he is because he's basically saying that he was in close contact. Now, I do not know if they are going to do a reenactment or something like that because me personally, I have a hard time visualizing unless you do the little computer graphics guy and kind of show me what's going on. But if you just tell me, I'm like, I don't know, he was doing a
Of
handstand, the
the
other guy was doing
circular
splits.
defect, there's that arc abrasion. What happens is it's more than just the bullet or shot that comes out of the gun. There's also gases, flames, smoke, and all of them create different stigmata depending on how far away the gun is. What happens with muzzle stamps is all the expanding gases push the skin backwards, and anything that is around the wound can get slapped against. And if it's a hard enough slap, it can create an impression. When it's the muzzle of the gun, it's referred to as a muzzle stamp.
So, I believe, had you been told what kind of gun shot Riley Menente Powell?
I had been told that it was a shotgun, and the wound confirms that. Pistols tend to be much smaller.
Were you able to tell from this image if it was a single barrel or a double barrel?
No.
Okay. But the arc on the outside is a bruise from the gun, and then the actual injury is from when the shot went through.
Yes.
So, what is your professional opinion on how close the gun was?
It was pushed in against the skin.
Pretty hard?
I can't really go. I don't know.
Okay, but it was pushed in against the skin.
Yes.
Now, when you perform the autopsy, have you performed other autopsies of shotgun blasts?
Many.
And
He just answers, ma'am, it's Wisconsin.
are you aware of what comprises a shotgun shell?
I am.
And what is that?
So you got the outer case, and on the bottom portion of the shell, you've got the primer as well as the gunpowder. And then directly over top of the gunpowder is what's referred to as wadding material, which is basically anything that isn't the projectile that you're trying to hit something with. In the case of slugs, for example, that wadding material may be a couple of pieces of cork. In the case of buckshot or birdshot, it's usually a plastic cup that is designed to keep the BBs together as it's going down the gun barrel. If you've ever gone trap shooting and have looked at the end of somebody's gun, you've probably seen a little something
Okay.
coming out.
Why are you looking at the end of someone's gun when they're firing? I mean, maybe this is why you've seen many gunshot wound victims, sir.
Out of the gun and just sort of falling away as soon as somebody pulls the trigger. That's the wadding material. It is designed to catch wind, expand, and fall away while the BBs continue in their relatively straight line.
I'm showing you what's been marked as 37. And can you identify that exhibit?
It is a 12 gauge shotgun shell, and it looks like it's been filled with shot of some kind.
And 38?
38 is an expanded shotgun shell. Looks like it's the same manufacturer.
So 38 has already been shot.
Correct.
Now, we talked about the wadding being very light and it's meant to just drop to the ground.
Yes.
When you conducted Mr. Powell's autopsy, where did you find the wadding?
It was deep inside his body.
So it
I'm
wasn't.
not going to touch it,
didn't
y'all.
drop
That's
away.
just,
It
it's,
didn't.
they're talking about
And
not a live person.
compared to other shotgun blasts that you
Not
have
gonna
done
do it.
autopsies on,
Trying to get
was
right with
this
the
one
Lord.
significant?
So I make a point in my report of saying that I found wadding material as far away as the left side of his chest cavity.
So the wound's on the right side
Correct.
and it was found in the left side. Okay.
Correct. Most of the time when wadding material impacts somebody, it either stops at the skin or it stays just inside of the entrance wound. The fact that it was able to penetrate so far
You
into
are
his
going to
body
be full
is further
Texan
evidence
by
that
next
this was a
year.
contact range wound.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as exhibit 34 and 35.
We will bring you over to the
Can
dark
you
side.
identify those exhibits?
These are x-rays that my office took to look for retained projectiles.
Yeah, he definitely has a
The
kind
first
of Dexter.
exhibit that I showed you, can you describe what findings you make from that?
So if you look at the right armpit area, you can see an area that's less white, looks a little more airy. And that would be where the entrance wound was. All the bright circular objects that you're seeing towards the left, his left, your right side of his chest, those are all the birdshot BBs.
Well,
Which
we
if
would
you
say
draw
strapped or packing, but
sort of like a
we'll
cone,
allow it.
it's going in a left to right and slightly downward trajectory.
Now, just to be certain, can you see where, put it on there, is where the arrow is on the screen? Oops.
Poor guy. He
Is
looks
that
like me,
the
like, oh,
entrance
I
wound?
done screwed it up.
Can you move the arrow a little bit?
It
You
is
might be able to see it on the screen
2023.
better.
Can we get one of those cat lasers,
It-
and he can use for the love of all that is
A
holy.
little more south. Right there.
Okay.
For the love of Cheetos.
So when you did the
So am I for the most
examination
part.
of Riley, what was the cause of his death?
A shotgun wound to the chest.
And what internal damage was done that caused his death?
Both of his lungs and his heart were pretty heavily damaged by the shotgun blast. His major vessels, including the aorta, which is the big artery coming off of the heart that runs along your spinal column, would have also been damaged.
Were you able to?
Yeah, I believe in, hopefully we'll get a better opening statements. I believe that he was um, possibly alive for maybe 10 to 15 seconds with all of the destruction that were going on to his major veins and, um, you know, blood vessels and heart and lung. I think he was pretty much down. That could be very possible. Again, I am not quite as established at uh, forensic ballistics as you would think. But yeah, it definitely seems like it was more of, although he could have used rock salt. We've all seen freaking Supernatural. Yeah.
To base a medical opinion how long Riley would have maintained consciousness or what would have happened after an injury of this sort?
He probably would have collapsed almost immediately afterwards. Probably if he wasn't knocked immediately unconscious, he would have been awake and aware for at most 10 to 15 seconds afterwards.
If he was awake and aware, would he have been in a position to move or fight or anything like that?
I mean, theoretically, sure, but
He's like, ma'am, I don't work
not
with
for
the
long.
living. I don't know
Okay.
what to tell you.
I had also showed you an exhibit marked 31 right after the autopsy.
Yes,
And can you identify that exhibit?
it's my autopsy report.
Oh, is there a single page?
32.
32. Yes, and can you identify that?
That is the blood results from his toxicology test.
There is.
And you rely on these records regularly in the course of your autopsies and conclusions?
I do. If we're doing an autopsy on somebody, we're running tox on them.
And what substances did Riley have in his system?
Oh,
He
Lord.
had metabolites that you see with marijuana consumption, as well as methamphetamine.
And there it is, folks. We knew it was going to be Breaking Bad
Now-
somewhere.
Was Did you find anything else that was significant about this particular autopsy?
Not that I recall. No.
Then I want to talk a little bit about the trajectory.
Okay.
We have a BB gun here somewhere. It's
Oh,
the same
no.
measurements as
I can only see this
the
going
gun
badly,
used
but
to
let's see
kill
him.
Riley.
Let's see the enactment.
It has the orange, no BBs in it. And this is the same length as the weapon.
They're all the
used to
same
kill
length,
Riley.
ma'am.
The trigger is in the same
His
place.
is bigger.
And the foregrip is in the same place.
Okay.
Would you be able to?
She done stole her grandkids, Daisy Red Ryder. This is the worst Christmas story ever. Yeah, are we shocked? Are we shocked? We are not shocked. The jury is not
To
shocked.
opine based on the injury and the shells, what position that, I won't point it at the jury. Thank you.
Oh, for the love of
It's
Cheeto.
BB gun, but still, yes.
Why? Just y'all, why? I cannot. That's it. We are funding a firearms safety class for all these daggone prosecutors who seem to be very, very unsure on how to safely not light up the entire danger and point at someone bad. Why is this so hard? I am blonde under here, under this red. And and even I know danger end doesn't get pointed at a person.
And I can tell all the hunters in the group. What position would the gun have been in?
So the trajectory in my report is front to back, right to left, and moderately downwards. What's important to know is that when I give trajectories in my reports, it is with the body in the standard, what's called the standard anatomic
no.
position. It is with somebody facing you straight on with their
Yeah,
palms facing
so
you.
standard anatomic position, I'm going to, because it's basically standing like this. But if you ever have had to put like a pain scale up for your doctor and they have the little man with his hands, palm out towards you, that is standard anatomical position. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, it is. That makes sense. It's the law in Wisconsin. Prosecutors have to endanger someone in the court once during their case in chief. During the original Jensen, the DA had the medical examiner taste antifreeze. For our next person, Alec Baldwin will be showing us how to use this safely. Oh my gosh.
Forward.
Do better,
Yeah.
prosecutors.
It's
better.
meant to give a constant reference point.
So
Um,
wait, I'm standing?
Correct.
Okay.
So the main problem with giving trajectories with that sort of orientation is it doesn't take into account the actual orientation of the body in 3D space. So it's entirely possible. So for him to have a trajectory like that, it either means that the gun was pointing at a downward angle, down into and at a downward angle, or it's also possible he was leaning forward into the gun. I wouldn't be able to tell you which one.
Honestly, this seems to be bolstering the defense case or the defense accident case that the defense is trying to bring up. I mean, if he is lunging for and trying to wrestle with the shotgun or, they're both tussling with it, I mean, it's very possible. We saw that in the New Mexico case where the prosecutor had the defendant come in and they played with the gun and did like a enactment. Of course they did. I will have to clip that someday because that is the most crazy BS I have ever seen in my entire life, and I was laughing out loud at the craziness of it while my one daughter was getting braces put on, and I'm sorry, I'm just
So
watching a trial.
leaning forward into the gun, like I'm leaning with my right shoulder.
More or less, yes.
If somebody was leaning to the right like that and had a shotgun blast of this magnitude, how would you expect them to fall?
So the shotgun blast itself would push them backwards a little bit, but they'd probably drop fairly quickly.
Do you think he would drop into the position you saw in, what was the ticket number?
I feel like this is like a swap meet trial. Like they are just going through, they have their stuff that they're wanting to sell at the swap meet, and they're also doing a trial.
He's gonna put
No one is prepared for this. This particular prosecutor actually played one of Side Chick's 911 calls for the wife, and the wife was like, "That's not my voice. That ain't me." And she's like, "Oh no, it's Side Piece. Never mind." So I I don't know if this is just being phoned in, but some of this is seeming a whole lot phoned in.
Would you expect a leaning, if he was leaning into the gun, would you expect him to fall like that?
It's possible.
Did you note any injuries on his face of hitting the pavement?
I do not recall, but I'm just checking my report quick.
How did Barney from The Simpsons get into the trial?
On the screen is Exhibit 36.
No, the only additional injuries I noted were a bruise to
Yeah,
his
so here's the thing. Yeah, a lot of families, when you own firearms or you have a firearm in the house, you have a very serious conversation with all of your children that they respect weapons. If you find something that even looks like, it could be a weapon, you treat it like it is dangerous and loaded and you get an adult. It Yes and no. I mean, you could say the same thing about people having kids, and believe me, I have thought about there needing to be an IQ test to have kids. It Yeah, it's the old, grocery cart, conundrum. If you are able-bodied and, have the ability to put your grocery cart away in the little corral and you don't, you're always gonna have to deal with those people that just leave their carts out in the damn, parking lot like jackasses. The rest of us put it away because we've worked, hell on earth retail, and we know, how much it sucks to have to deal with lazy, incompetent people, so we put it away. Not really because we want to most of the time, but because we've been there, we've worked as the lowest person in the retail chain, having to go get carts from buttholes that put them all the way at the end of the parking lot.
knee and some healing scabs on his hand.
So what does that tell you about a body falling? Is it fair to say he's very close to?
Listen, this is gonna have to be a rumble talk, but excited, we will talk about it because I have some things that I think really need to. We have so many laws on the book that are not being properly done, and we all need to get into the mindset that criminals and people that commit crime, if you take out the large if you take out the large metropolitan cities, um, America goes from, I think, 86th in violence to like 287. So it's a culture thing. We do need to talk about the underlying culture, but yeah, there's a lot of things that we could do better, folks. But we're having a day.
Yes.
When somebody falls straight down like that
Yes.
with his feet splayed, could you opine? Do you think Riley was on his knees?
I haven't heard the word opine in a lot of years, but this woman has said it like 4 times. It was her word of the day calendar.
I if he was on his knees, just a simple collapse forward like that would also be possible.
Would it be more likely that he was in an upright position to fall straight forward like that? That's what I'm getting at.
If you were in an upright position, given the fact that this was occurring on blacktop, I would expect some other
Oh, no,
injuries
you're
to his
fine.
skin just from hitting the
I
blacktop.
love having different opinions. I love it's
Is it possible to
it,
land on blacktop?
look, I would much rather us all sit down and not assign moral value to each side, and just go in with the basic understanding that we're both humans and we want to do better, but we have different ideas about it, then, this person is a turd because they believe this, which seems to be where we have defaulted. I'm gonna name a cat Opine. I mean, my
Blacktop would
husband
not
says we
injure
have
your
to wait for
skin?
any more cats, though.
Absolutely.
Very sad.
Is it likely? No.
What kind of a blast would that shotgun pressed against his skin, so it was pressed on him, wouldn't it cause him to go to the left?
No, you giant weird out. Yes, I love you too. Now out. Okay. So basic physics, if the blast makes this guy, so the blast is coming this way and it makes him fly back this way, like in the movies, the man with the shotgun is going to fly back just as much equally because it's the force. This is not Dirty Harry, ma'am. I cannot with you.
Yes.
So if he was in the standing position, it would be far more likely that he would fall to the left and he would go into that position. Would you agree with that? Or can you agree with that?
I think that's
I
speculation.
I
And
can say it's
physics.
possible, but I can't.
Oh, don't make an excited
definitively
face.
say
You're
one way or
kind of
the other.
creepy, sir, when you're
A
excited. I
shotgun
just
blast like that did that kind of damage, would he stay standing for 10 to 15 seconds?
Probably not. The last stand type of picture that you see in movies basically doesn't happen. Hollywood lies, go figure.
what?
Yeah.
No,
where they
not Hollywood.
slowly, dramatically crumple, that's not real life.
Ma'am, you just
My
posited the dramatic thing.
experience with watching videos of people who have been
Yes.
shot is if you are fatally wounded, you collapse really quickly.
And if that fatal wound is something that's going to push against the body, that
Also, sir, what kind of YouTube videos are you watching? Are you watching like those Mexican cartel videos that I even dare not tread? Yeah, it looks like these guys are waiting for what is it? Traffic court, and they're just like all sitting in on a trial too.
is that going to impact how a person would fall?
It would.
This seems like a fairly
So
cheesy
would
way
you
to
say
try
it
to
was
get in
more
that
likely than not that Riley was on his knees?
I don't know.
yeah, this better not be the witness that they're trying to bring that he was on his knees and surrendering.
The levels of methamphetamine in Riley's system.
It was just a little,
Do you
man.
have any education or experience that you could opine on that level?
I do.
And what is that?
My experience or what my opinion is.
Both.
So I look at
This guy is on the
toxicology
spectrum.
results
God love him. He's like,
all
I
the
don't need to
time.
know.
We are in the midst of a drug epidemic, and so I'd say probably a fifth of my cases are overdoses.
Okay, and y'all, that is just, it's sad. Look, being a person that's dealt with someone who has done that and, the people that get left behind, it, look, I am not a life coach, And if you're looking at me for personal direction, there is a whole lot we need to talk to your therapist about for first of allness. But if you are struggling with an addiction, please get help because the people you leave behind, it's it sucks donkey balls, okay? It just does. So if you are struggling with anyone, if you know anyone that's struggling with something, I hope they get help because it is a suck club that you get stuck in when you get left behind.
So very used to looking at these levels. The levels that Riley has, he also had amphetamine on
I'm what you call a methologist, if you will. Look, I can't stay somber forever.
board, but when your body breaks down methamphetamine, it turns it into amphetamine. So that's actually expected to be there. The levels he has are middling, I'd say. They shouldn't be fatal to anybody unless you have something else going on, such as a heart condition. The levels that are present are the point where you'd see some of the more stereotyped behaviors of methamphetamine use. Aggression, impulsivity, possible violent outbursts.
Oh, wow. So the defense is really good. I mean, this is really good testimony for the defense. Now, it seems to me as a, super duper layperson that they both were looking for a fight. And, it seemed like he had the taser out, Wild Bill. Yeah, he had middling levels of meth, according to this particular forensic pathologist. Now, he does specify that they are in the middle of like a meth epidemic. So it isn't a fatal level, it's more middling, but it does bring out, and he just stated, it brings out feelings of aggression, of impulsivity, of, just kind of your typical that particular substance behavior. I never thought I'd hear middling levels of methodology, but there we go.
Stuff like that.
Would that depend on
Yeah,
if
he's
the
really
person had been using it regularly?
Uh,
Do they become
so I feel like he's on the spectrum because he doesn't make direct eye contact, but unfortunately, it's it's very off-putting. His general demeanor is that of he definitely seems like he has a people suit somewhere. Allegedly, I am making
like
fun of
the
you,
drunk
sir.
at the
I'm sure you don't have a
.3
people suit.
might be much more able to exist?
Methamphetamine does have a tolerance effect to it. So if he was a chronic everyday user,
Yeah,
this could possibly be a level he lives at.
And then back to the positioning. Why wouldn't the lack of injury to his extremities make it more likely that he would have been on his knees or closer to the ground when he fell?
Just gravity.
Okay,
We
what the prosecutor is conveniently leaving out is that if he was lunging and he was already closer to the ground as in a lunge, he might have less if he hit the guy on the way down because 'cause they're fighting for the weapon, I mean, he could have been slowed down by the fact that they're both holding onto the weapon, so when he does get, you know, tapped by the weapon, he kind of does a thing where he sort of falls, but the other person's still holding onto the "Ma'am, I need you to have a claymation reenactment of this if you're
accelerate very
gonna."
quickly when we fall down to the ground.
And I'm glad for that,
So if he
Salvador.
was coming from a standing height, like we all have tripped, fallen, and hit against carpet or blacktop or
Yeah.
some other rough surface, if you're falling from a standing height, you're much more likely to get a road rash than you are if you're from a kneeling height.
And you didn't notice any kind or observe any road rash type injuries on Riley?
I did not.
No, in this
So
one they
based on the
did. They
last-
actually, so the defense and or the prosecution, I can't remember which one in the opening statements that we got to see, did say that there was DNA of his around, I wanna say, the foregrip and where the flashlight was attached. So, Riley's DNA, the decedent's, was on there. So, it's looking more like it was a self-defense
Lack of
case,
injury,
maybe?
could you then say it was more likely he was on his knees or closer to the ground when he fell?
More likely, yes.
Thank you. I'm gonna show you what's been marked as Exhibit 8, which are the hands of the shooter of the gun.
Yeah, but we'd have to do a satellite test first.
Based on your training in
D wait
firearms
wait a
and your
minute. Was he
experience,
wearing nail polish? I am all of the So, he's the shooter, and he was wearing nail polish. Okay. Okay, yeah. Well, accident I don't know if I'll have to ask a lawyer
now
because
these are the
maybe
hands
they're
of
just
Bill
going for
Zelenski.
manslaughter or
Do you
negligence.
have any opinion of the injury on his finger?
Yes.
And what is that?
He has a laceration on the proximal interphalangeal joint, so the first joint on his finger.
And what could cause an injury like that?
Lacerations are caused by blunt forces being applied to the body. So if you fall and sort of scrape longitudinally along the carpet, your skin might start tearing. That's what a laceration is.
Now, the
Yeah,
right
that's kind of what
hand
I'm thinking.
traditionally, with a firearm would be the trigger finger.
Correct.
And you have had experience with firearms, and have you had any additional
Would you
training
stop
on
pointing it at the
firearms
jury?
and
For the love of all that's holy,
the
ma'am.
results of using them?
I grew up in a hunting family, and so I have
Okay, but did you hunt people or lives or, wildlife? Because I have a very, like, oh gosh, what is it? The most dangerous game kind of zodiac thing coming from you, sir.
experience using them. I also have training and interpreting firearm wounds.
So if a 12 gauge double barreled shotgun is fired, not from the shoulder, but just holding onto it and firing it, is this the type of wound you could expect?
Yes, from the finger impacting the trigger guard, it definitely possible.
So when the gun comes back,
Yes, the weapon that she is flashing to all of the jurors is a BB gun I think she stole from her grandson, to be very honest with you. He got it for Christmas, and they done tooked it away. This is the forensic, pathologist, the medical examiner. So she is desperately trying to get him to say that Riley was on his knees and they kind of semi shot him execution style. Now, what he is doing is giving the defense more of a leeway as to he did have so Riley, the decedent, the victim, had, um, a middling level of meth, so he said that this would be typically associated with impulsivity, aggression, violence, possibly. So if Riley is on these particular substances and, he seems like he wanted to start a fight, it's very possible that he could have run towards someone carrying a weapon, gotten into a fight just because he was amped up, if you will. But, she's having a hard time getting him to, really say, "No, he was on his knees and they were," you know so
the
it
actual
doesn't seem
trigger
like she's
guard
getting what
wouldn't
she's
cause a
wanting.
wound like that.
Correct.
So would it be possible that the gun was too?
To be fair, Murph, we all saw the players in this particular thing. Are we shocked that there's a little bit of mythology in there? I mean, this is like swap meet, the trial. I cannot with this. The prosecutor's like, I brought my grandson's, rifle in, and she's done pointed it at every single one of the jury
To
people.
his
Just
shoulder and still cause an injury like that?
It would be much less likely. Like if you're inexperienced using a gun or you don't shoulder it properly, it could go back further. But the whole purpose of the butt of the gun is to prevent things like this from happening.
It absorbs the shot.
Yes.
And
to
the
be fair, most of the
distance
state's
between the
witnesses
actual
have been
trigger
guests
fully
of the state too.
pressed and the trigger
26
guard
daggone convictions.
is a good
Like,
2
what in
inches.
the actual crap? Hold
Give or
up.
take, yes.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Ross,
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr.
Stop
Kovac,
looking at me under your
um,
eyebrows. It looks weird, sir.
You said that
I
in
know.
performing an autopsy, you receive information about the circumstances of death.
Correct.
And that's from the police officers?
Okay, I guess we're not
Both
standing
the
up.
police officers and the referring agency.
And on your autopsy, you listed a date and time of death, correct?
Correct.
And that was likely from the referring agency, the hospital?
No, it would be the Wapaka County Medical Examiner's Office.
And the time of death is listed, or the date is October 19th of 2020
Correct.
at 22:38 hours.
Correct.
So that's 10:38 p.m.
Yes.
And that was when death was pronounced.
Yes.
Isn't
Now,
it
you
true?
indicated from the toxicology report that Riley had, or that you review the toxicology results in performing autopsies,
Yes.
and you review those pretty regularly.
Yes.
And you said there was methamphetamine in Riley's system,
Correct.
as well as the metabolite of methamphetamine,
Yes.
and that's amphetamine.
Yes.
And there was 460, is NG, is that micrograms?
Nanograms.
Nanograms per milliliter.
Correct.
And when that methamphetamine breaks down, it breaks down into amphetamine.
Yes.
And there was 94 nanograms per milliliter.
Yes.
So some of the methamphetamine had already been broken down,
Correct.
but there was still active methamphetamine in his system.
Yes.
And that's why you were able to testify that those, or that amount, could lead to the typical behaviors associated with methamphetamine use.
Wait, I'm going to need, see, I just learned, I believe in Indiana, you do not have to have a medical license to run for county medical examiner. I'm tempted, y'all. I am tempted, but I don't like, I'd have to hire some guy like this guy. Like, look, sir, I am the face of the corporation. You are the work of the corporation. I will split with you 70-30.
Yes.
Such as aggression,
Yes.
violent outbursts,
Yes.
impulsivity,
Yes.
maybe feelings of impervious to pain.
Yes.
Now, when you determine, or as part of the autopsy,
Okay, I figured out what bothers me. It's this little, so he's cocked on the side, kind of down, and then he does this with his eyebrows. It's the eyebrows. I finally, well, and the dead stare. But he's married, so you guys, there's always hope if you kind
You
of
said
give
you
off
took
real
those
creepy
X-rays
vibes.
that
I'm
we
just
saw.
saying.
Yes.
and all those little white specks were the BBs that were in the shotgun shell.
Correct.
And that's birdshot.
Yes.
They're really tiny BBs.
Incredibly.
And you said that you have much experience in autopsies with shotgun injuries.
Yes.
It's
And so you know there's
Wisconsin.
different types of shotgun shells.
Yes.
And so, for example, I think the smallest ones would be birdshot,
Yes.
and then buckshot, the BBs are bigger.
Yes.
And then even up from there would be a slug,
Yes.
which is the one big, essentially BB or metal piece.
Correct.
Yeah. You don't have to be a rocket
But in this
surgeon
case,
for
it
it.
was birdshot, the smallest ones.
Correct.
I want to talk about
Yeah,
some of
I'm
the
not.
internal injuries that
I
you
mean,
examined. You indicated that because of how many BBs there were, that it caused damage to his internal organs,
Correct.
including, I think you said, his heart.
Yes.
And some of the BBs traveled from Riley's right side to his left.
Yes.
And some, I think, went through his aorta.
Yes.
And the aorta is the biggest artery leading from the heart.
Correct.
And really almost any injury would cause fatal blood loss.
Yes. Fairly quickly.
So even if one,
and our valiant defendant continues to cover or put his hands together under his tie because reasons. I don't know. Yeah, it is not a. We need to have a like fashion coordinator for these folks. I feel like their wives are just like, it'll work. Look, I ironed it. I don't care.
one of those tiny little BBs passed through the aorta, that could have resulted in fatal blood loss in this case.
Definitely.
So we talked about, and we saw pictures of the entrance wound to essentially the right armpit area.
Yes.
And you testified that it's consistent with the gun being pushed against his skin.
Yes.
And that would also be consistent with the gun being pulled against his skin.
Could you clarify that?
Sure. So I think the entrance wound is just consistent with it touching his skin.
Yes. Probably, given the depth of the wadding material, there was probably some pressure either from
He has
Riley into the
not
gun or vice
today.
versa,
I
or
don't know
both.
if maybe his defense attorney talked to him or he's just zoned out. Because I'll be honest with you, if I were on the jury, the jury was already done with this case, like witness one. So maybe he's just a bit zoned out.
Creating more of a seal.
So from somebody pushing the gun into his skin,
Yes.
or from Riley pulling the gun into his skin.
Yes.
And with respect to, I know that you testified on direct about the scrape on Bill's finger, his right trigger finger, as it were.
Yes.
And you said that if the shotgun was held up against his shoulder, the trigger guard likely wouldn't have hit the finger,
Correct.
because the shoulder would block sort of the gun coming back towards the finger.
Correct.
But if the gun was held up to his shoulder and was pulled away as the gun got shot, his shoulder wouldn't be up against the stock of the gun at that point.
It would not.
And so the gun could come back and cause that injury to Bill's finger.
That's possible.
I'm going to have to
So
do a
the
video or
trigger
a stream with
guard injury.
this particular Dr. G because I don't think I've actually watched any of his videos. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Oh my gosh, it does remind me of the 80s. Like everything was brown. But yeah, you guys keep making fun of him and I need someone to make fun of. So we might be doing a stream of Dr. G and then roasting the ever loving crud out of him because, that is what I am here for. I do not have a petty patch on today, but I can make one, and we will have petty patches.
It's consistent with the
Okay, we'll have
gun being
Baker on
pulled
too
away as it was fired.
to learn us the
It
right way.
could be, yes.
It's also consistent with it in any other way not being against his shoulder.
Yes.
And because it's consistent with both of those, you can't tell how that injury occurred to Bill's finger.
I cannot.
Now, you testified that the trajectory, you have to look at the trajectory from a standard anatomical position, correct?
Correct.
That's just staring straight ahead with palms out.
Correct.
And you said the trajectory was from Riley's right to his left,
Yes.
front to back,
Yes.
and moderately downward.
Yes.
And moderately has some significance in your field.
Can you clarify what you mean by that?
Sure, there's different degrees of downward.
Yes. Yes.
There's
There are different
slightly
degrees
downward,
of down.
Yes.
moderately downward,
Yes.
and markedly downward.
Yes.
And so
I will have
slightly
to
would
see. I might be
just
streaming this
sort of
trial
slightly
still.
down.
Yes.
And then moderately would just be more than slightly,
Yes.
but markedly would be very clear, markedly downward.
I basically use that when it's straight up and down. Yes.
But it's not necessarily to be straight up and down.
Yes.
Okay, you guys, I know we are trying to do things on the cheapness, but could we not get the mannequin with the little poke through like dowels and just do that instead of have this man, well, it might could have maybe done something sort of, because this is a lot of testimony for this guy to say it's possible. I mean, it could happen. When y'all know this, look, we know man on the stand has some sort of mannequin collection at home that he could bring with him. But they didn't even ask. So now we have to have this man talk about all sorts of hypothetical
There's different
probabilities.
degrees between slightly, moderately, and markedly.
Yes.
And moderately, all you're able to determine is that it's more than slightly
This lawyer
Yes,
has
and less than
dead
markedly.
ass
Yes.
Jim Brewer
It's not
eyes.
really a degree
He looks
or an
stoned
angle at
AF,
which the
but it's not
trajectory
his
is
fault.
to
He just has
determine
Jim
if it's
Brewer
moderate.
eyes.
There is not.
Now, you testified that Riley had a bruise on his knee,
Yes.
and you don't know how that bruise got there.
I do not.
And so, if somebody had been standing when they got shot, you indicated they would fall almost immediately.
Yes.
And if somebody fell onto their knees, that could cause the bruise on their knee, right?
It could.
That's consistent with the bruise on Riley's knee.
I would need to see a picture of said bruise.
But it would be consistent with a bruise on his knee.
We are talking about
Yes.
this man's knees a whole heck of a lot and him being on his knees. Look,
You indicated
guys, this
you
is where
didn't
my
see
mind goes.
any marks on his forehead.
Correct.
And we saw the photo of Riley with his sort of forehead on the ground.
Yes.
So if his head hit that pavement in any way, would you expect that there would be some injury?
I would.
Can you explain why, if Riley was in the position that you saw him, there was no injury on his forehead?
He may have had enough consciousness wherewithal to sort of brace himself a little bit. I had mentioned that you lose consciousness, you wouldn't have a
Aw.
last stand type of moment, but you would still be able to interact with the environment to some degree during those final seconds.
And would Riley's arm being sort of under his chest be consistent with some type of trying to brace himself?
It could be, yes.
And so if somebody was standing and they got shot and they fell to their knees immediately and then they fell forward, that would be consistent. They could brace themselves with their arm a little bit.
Why
It
are
could,
we
yes.
doing
And there would be
charades?
enough
Again,
time
where's the
with
damned
consciousness
mannequin?
to fall to your knees and then fall forward and try to brace yourself.
Yes.
Even the deputy's like, what in the actual hell are we doing? Oh no. We've got science experiment.
So I also have this is a toy gun. It's not even a BB gun.
Oh, for the love of Cheetos. They're going to do it
And
again.
you testified that you wouldn't be able to determine the position of the gun necessarily.
Correct.
But we do know that trajectory was from Riley's right to his left side.
Yes.
From the front, his entrance wound was
There has
near
to
the
be
front.
drinking. There
Yes.
is no
The
way.
trajectory was back,
Yes.
and it was moderately downward.
Yes.
And so if somebody were to grab the gun and pull it into themselves, right? From this angle, if I stand in an anatomical standard position, would you be able to determine the trajectory
Dude,
from
this dude stole his daughter's marching, dance team, fake spinny rifle from her. I'm going to need the Daisy Red Ryder BB gun company got like 3,000 more % sales just because of this trial. What in the actual Hades are we doing? But this he wanted to make double, triple sure that people knew. Or okay, maybe the red and blue or orange and blue were probably where certain features were on the other real weapons. So say the blue is where he's holding the, flashlight or something. But he is making a point that this makes much more sense. He is giving the jury a chance to say that this makes much more sense. Yeah. Yeah, y'all, I don't know, but at least he's not pointing it at the daggone jury.
right to left?
Yes.
And then if I face this way for you, would that go front to back?
Yes.
And would the trajectory be moderately downward?
Yes.
So that's consistent with somebody reaching for the gun and pulling it.
Yes.
And because if somebody pulls it to themselves, that could cause the entrance wound the way we saw it on the
I
video.
wonder how she's
It
going to
could, yes.
clear this up on redirect. Because that seems to make perfect sense. Yeah, it's very helpful. I mean, it made much more sense than the prosecutor kind of saying, I'm holding my arm out like this and I'm going to fall like.
Let me ask you a couple other questions. So we demonstrated for you that if somebody was grabbing it and pulling it at themselves, that would be consistent with the injuries that you saw.
Yes.
Now, my hands were on these two sections of blue tape. You would agree?
Yes.
When we
Okay,
demonstrated
so
pulling the
yeah,
gun towards
the defense is being super duper smart for all of us slightly ADHD, no spatial awareness people. He's marked out. My guess is that this particular weapon is the same length, and y'all are free to cut this and he's actually marked out where the decedent's hands and where the touch DNA has. Well, this is a toy gun, but no, they haven't. Binger is gonna get someone shot one day. I just know it.
Yes.
my hands were on these blue pieces of tape.
Yes.
Now, if Riley's DNA was on this blue piece of tape, would that be consistent with him grabbing it?
I could be.
Objection, foundation.
Overall, answer if you can.
It could be. I would expect fingerprints or DNA or something to end up there.
So if there was DNA on this section of blue tape, that would be consistent.
It could be, yes.
And if there was DNA found in this area of this blue tape, that would also be consistent.
It could be, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, he is making really good points, and I think that that was the demonstrative that if I'm a juror, that's what I'm looking at. That's grabbed my attention, that has put two disparate pieces of evidence, the touch DNA and, the positioning of the weapon in clear focus. Dude with 80s tie is actually doing a pretty good job.
And because of all the injuries that you were able to determine, you cannot say what position the body or the gun were in.
I cannot.
All you can say is whether or not certain things were consistent.
Correct.
You couldn't say whether something was more consistent than something else.
I can give you probabilities, but if you're looking for a definite answer, no.
So you have no definite ability to determine in what position the gun was when it was fired,
Correct.
or Riley's body.
Correct.
It's the little eyebrow lift. It's that just doesn't belong there. I think it's maybe a twitch, but it confuses me.
I have no further questions.
Redirect.
Let's see how she's going to figure this one out. Come on, Kathy Bates.
An exhibit from the autopsy picture, it's not there.
Oh, for the love of Cheetos. Ma'am, get it together. You are a prosecutor in theory. Can you find your... This woman has every newspaper from 1973 and onward, plus TV Guide. Change my mind.
This picture look familiar,
It does.
and the circle
Has it
around,
been marked?
it's on the flash drive. This will be on exhibit 14.
Okay. You need to identify that for future records to be
Yes.
understood. Thank you. So it's exhibit 14.
Is this
Was-
judge now telling this? Did she just become a prosecutor? Is she late in life? Like she, got all the kids out of school. She went into law because she was, a little bit empty nestery. Is this her first trial? This seems like, or is she one day away
Before the
from
identification
retirement?
document, there's a series of electronic
That's what I'm
images
saying.
and recordings that the state has marked as a cumulative exhibit.
Does this exhibit picture the bruise you described on Riley's knee?
Yeah,
does.
I don't quite
And
know.
it appears that it's off to the side.
It is.
Is that bruise consistent with him falling from a standing height to his knee?
It would be a really awkward position to fall in.
And then have the end
What they're not taking into account, say you pass out. Your body does nothing to protect itself. You just are going with gravity. So, and you've seen people collapse. I mean, they collapse in an awkward heap. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that as they are a tussling in a brawl, if you will, from the Travis Rudolph trial, that he's going to collapse in an awkward sort of accordion shape, if you will. I don't know how she's going to come back from this.
position be straightforward on his knees?
Yes.
Is it safe to say that bruise is inconsistent?
Look, my
with
background space
falling
is all of
straightforward
the
on his knees?
disorganized. I'm hoping to get a cube
Um,
thing soon, so
It would be less consistent. In my field, you learn to say never say never, but it's not in a classic position.
What's the difference between muzzle velocity and the shot size?
Muzzle
Well,
velocity is how quickly the shot is coming out of the barrel of the gun, and shot
death
size
is
how
inelegant.
big around the BBs are.
And does that have any significance with Riley's injury?
Which injury are we referring to?
Of the actual gunshot wound?
Yes.
And in what way?
If there's more muzzle velocity, it means there was more of an explosion with the gunpowder, so there would have been more force applied to Riley.
Oh, yeah, no, that's why I always like, if you see me get a drink and then I leave my closet door.
Have any injury on his hand?
Is she now using it?
I don't.
Does she have a
Probably
pimp
not.
cane? Y'all, we are rolling the record back. That is a pimp cane with a bear on it. Let's see if we can do
On his
this.
hand?
Or a frog. There is something I need one of you internet geniuses to slow-mo, and we need to embiggen this because I am trying to figure out what her pimp cane has on it.
I don't.
Oh,
Probably
really?
not.
I don't know, Jay. I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. Keeping up with just David, Vices, Flux, myself, Salvador. It is all of the things. I am peopling and connecting and networking more than I ever have in the last 11 years. I mean, with people that aren't my children.
What's the difference between likelihood versus possibility?
I kind of use them interchangeably. If I say something is probable, it means it's more likely than not, much more likely than not. Like just throwing a number on it, 70
Okay,
or
it
more
is a
percent chance.
frog, I think, you
If I say it's
guys.
possible, it's more likely than not, so 51%.
Now, I had to bring a
I
cane
know.
because I don't even like using a toy gun.
What is
If the
why
gun
do we
was
have a
almost
frog's ass
under his
shoved
armpit.
into a
It was
pole? I
right in the
just
corner. Is that correct?
Correct.
y'all, this is the swap
And
meet.
in
She
order to
found that
get
for
both
$4
hands
and
on the
she's
gun
like, she
pulling,
haggled it down to a
would that really
quarter.
result in the trajectory of the bullets that you saw, or the shot?
The trajectory, yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a ticky-tacky case. And this particular defendant is not sympathetic looking. Oh. You guys, I am trying to pay attention, make sure the kids don't light anything on fire. It is my soon-to-be 11-year-old's birthday tomorrow, so he keeps coming in and like, "Okay, I wanted this, this, and this from Jurassic Park." And I was like, "Yeah, yes, we know." So, what in all of the if she pulls out a velvet painting with a wolf howling at the moon, we are full swap meet hell, and I will quit or start day drinking.
It could. The wounds on his skin are consistent with there being a tight seal between the muzzle of the gun and his skin. Whether that force was coming from Riley pushing into it or pulling himself into it, or from the gun being pushed into his skin, I can't tell you.
But in order to get both hands on the gun,
Velvet
don't you have to
Elvis
twist your
will
body?
light a candle.
Yes.
And that would impact the trajectory of the shell.
Gone
that you
too
saw.
soon, maybe.
It would be in just me knowing my own body, it would be an awkward position.
So he would have to be leaning and pulling with both hands to pull it tight against him, but still be straight sideways to the gun.
This woman has never been in a
Yes.
tussle
That doesn't seem like a very
with a
probable
meth head.
position.
So
No,
Farrell,
less probable.
both sides brought in their, best Red Ryder Daisy, BB gun, if you will, to do enactments. But then this woman, even with the red tip and everything, still managed to sight in all of the daggone jury. So I think someone told her, like, don't use that again. So then she pulled out, well, I'm afraid to even use a toy gun, so I'm going to use my pimp cane with a frog perched atop a pole, but it looks like the pole is going in his rear. I just all the what in the yeah, and swear to God, if she pulls out, you know, a velvet
Let's
dogs
go
playing
back.
pool, what in the
Recoil.
this
The
gentleman
gun pushing
here.
backwards.
What about a substance? Is there a substance that's referred to as blowback?
That is a slow pitch, Chad, and I do not do slow pitches.
Probably, but my
Let's say that. Would you expect there
But
to
you can
be
get it for $50
bodily
downtown
substances from
anywhere.
Riley on the end of the gun?
Just ask for Edna.
it's one of those things that wouldn't surprise me if there was. It also wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't.
So if an officer is going to testify that he saw tissue substance at the end of the gun, that wouldn't surprise you?
No.
And would a tissue substance from Riley's wound contain his DNA?
Yes.
Hey guys, what is up is that we finally got Law and C Word, so I'm not at the mercy of Court TV.
Mr. Hogan, anything further?
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Kovac, you testified on redirect that if Riley did grab the gun and pull it and the gun went off, that there would probably be no injuries to his hands.
That would be my guess, yes.
And you didn't note any injuries to Riley's hands.
I did not.
Yes. So today we lucked out, and Salvador sent me the link to Law and C Word because I was trying to go back, and Court TV had put out long form videos of the opening statements. However, they were filmed on a Vaseline, lensed camera that was attached to a potato. It was terrible. I did all the things I could do on my end and nothing was happening. So then Salvador found this. So this is day 2 morning. And then if you guys remember, I will be doing the mornings of this trial. And then in the evenings around 6 or 7, not tomorrow evening though, because that's my son's birthday. But from 6 to 7 onward, we'll probably be doing double time with a cast of characters, probably Salvador if he's available, since he knows about lizards and such.
You indicated, or you just testified on redirect, that if there was some tissue of Riley's on the end of the gun, that would contain Riley's DNA.
It would.
Likely would contain Riley's blood as well.
Yes.
You indicated that to grab the gun and to pull, you would have to twist your body, right?
Correct.
But you don't have to.
No.
Because if your arms are long enough, I'm not really twisting my body, am I?
No.
And I could still reach, grab a gun, and when I pull, even if it was twisted, could straighten up my body a little bit.
Yes.
And again, Riley reaching for the gun, grabbing it, having it
Sounds
against
good.
his skin would be consistent with the injuries that you observed during the autopsy.
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Anything further, Mrs. Schwartz?
One follow-up. On page 4,
Oh, for the love of
you
God.
indicated Riley's height and weight.
Yes.
And what was his height
69 inches, so 5'9",
and his weight?
147 pounds.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Yeah, the look,
Anything
Kathy
further,
Bates
Mr. Hogan?
has
No.
had a hard time
Just
acting
for
here.
the
Like,
clarification of the record, when you say page 4, I assume you are referring to page 4 of Exhibit 31, the
Yes, Your Honor.
autopsy report. Okay. Is the doctor excused then?
He has been
Judge
stayed.
Grimace is doing
You
an
thank the
interesting
doctor, you're
job.
free to
Yeah.
go.
Thank you.
And the defense did a really good job because the defense with a little bit of electrical tape was able to really show what could have happened. His smile is worse than his stare. I don't know. And sir, we say this with love, but maybe don't do the eyebrow thing, okay? I don't know who drinks their water like that, but you are a sociopath, sir. I don't know who mouthwashes their water. What? What in the end times are we talking? No. Can we have a man do anything here?
Of exhibits 30 through 36.
This is in Wisconsin. Now you'd be shocked because you'd think stolen lizards, meth, man dating with girlfriend, wife watching the girlfriend's son. I mean, you'd think that this would be a Florida, case to the point where even Court TV was like, I thought this was in Florida. But no, this is a Wisconsin. Yes, he sat there and he thought about them because they asked a lot of those hypotheticals, which again, people, if you had just brought in one of them styrofoam mannequins and put the dowels through them, I'd have understood better. North Florida, we've decided. Wisconsin is now North Florida.
And exhibit 8.
30 through 30.
30 through 36.
Yeah, when I was trying to look for live feeds of this, I kept
And
pulling up
so-
things about Ukraimia, and I was like, God dang it, I don't care. I mean, I care about loss of lives, but I don't
Just so
like
I'm
that
clear,
particular man, so.
36 is actually contained within 14, correct? That's a snapshot.
It is, but we got it marked.
I did, but I mean, technically, we need to make some record. You ask the doctor, does this reflect it? The doctor was in no position to identify it except by your representation, but if it's part of 14, it's been pretty much accepted. I'll treat it. as
Okay, so
exempt,
this
but
is,
while you see
Doug, if he
30
became a
through
police officer.
38.
Officer Doug.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're going to call Paul Zelenski. Oh, he's here.
Please raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
It's Paul Shabilsky, and that's spelled Pryzvelski.
You solemnly swear the testimony you will provide will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You may have a seat.
Yeah. Yeah, stop sending my money.
Officer, if you could state your name and spell your last name for the record. Officer Paul Shabilsky, and my last name is spelled Pryzvelski. And how are you employed? I'm
He's 12 and a
employed as
half.
patrol officer
Changed
for
my
the City of
mind.
Wapaco Police Department. And how long have you been employed as sworn law enforcement?
Yeah.
I started at the Wapaco Police Department on August 3rd of 2020.
So you were employed in that capacity on the October 19th, 2020?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He's one of the 5 people in town who's not incarcerated because he's the one doing the incarcerating. According to this case, it's not showing a very good representation of Waukapa County. Look, y'all, I'm just gonna go ahead and state it. Wisconsin is America's murder mitten.
And at some point, were you dispatched to a weapon call?
I was.
And where was that?
Initially, the call came out as Van and Shearer Street, the intersection.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 15. Do you recognize what that is? Generally speaking.
Appears to be a call log from a cell phone.
And towards the top, do you see a call to 911?
Yes.
Do you see a time associated with that call?
It appears to be 10:20.
Not sure about
and 3
the
seconds p.m.
candy cane tie. That's definitely what. Look, the key lesson that Mo always preaches is if they look normal, there's something very wrong with them.
Officer, when you responded to the weapons call, were you wearing a body camera?
Yes.
And does your body camera record the date and time?
It does.
I love this lawyer. He's like, I can't find the file. I can't find the file. Look, I have had those times when I'm doing a live stream that I'm trying to fluff, and get you guys through as I'm trying to figure out what the hell I have done messed up on this stream. And oh my goodness, it is it is all the hard to do, and I couldn't imagine doing it in a court. I do like hearing them whisper, like, what the hell file was it?
Apologize, just one moment. I'm going to, this will be marked as Officer Shabilsky's body cam on Exhibit 14. And I'm going to put this up on the screen and ask you if you recognize this.
Oh my gosh, he has the exact hairdo of Philip J. Fry from Futurama. You are now Philip. You are now Fry. I'm sorry, I know you had a name before, but now you are Philip J. Fry.
I do. That's an image from my body camera.
Okay.
What in the red light district?
What time does it know?
It's displayed at 3:20:46 on the screen, and that's in UTC.
And UTC, how does that convert to Central Standard Time?
In order to convert UTC to Central Standard Time, you would subtract 5 hours.
So that would give us, using a 24-hour clock, 22:20 or 10:20 and 46 seconds.
You absolutely know that lawyer had that written down because he's like, I am not mathing on the fly. Or at least I would, and I'd still cock it up
10:20
some
and
way.
46 seconds, correct?
PM.
Correct.
Listen, he is a 10 in his hometown, but we've seen his hometown, so he's a 6 or a 7 in normal world.
So it took you some time to explain what happens after dispatch.
After I was dispatched, I briefly drove down School Street and turned north onto Van Street.
So I believe it was right around 10:30, or 11, maybe inching towards 11, but 10:30-ish. So it was not at demon time, around 12. They were a little off the mark.
When I got onto Van Street, I didn't know exactly where the incident was at that time. So I drove down Van Street a little bit, then I saw some people in front of my vehicle. So I stopped the vehicle, stopped my squad car and exited the squad car.
What did you do next?
When I exited the squad car, I started walking north in direction down Van Street. And I observed what I thought to be two females on my right-hand side near the curb or possibly off of the roadway. But it was dark. It's hard to see from my distance at that time. And then as I got closer, I observed what appeared to be a person on the ground on the roadway in front of me. And then to my left, I observed a male standing next to the person on the ground.
And were you able to identify who the male is?
You know, I'm not sure. I'll have to go back through the notes that you gave me because that's not making sense if he didn't. I don't, this entire case doesn't make linear sense or even circular sense. It, some sort of quantum nexus of Walmart.
I identified that male as William Zelenski.
Did he make any statements to you?
Yes, at that time, I asked, "Where's the shooter?" And Mr. Zelenski identified himself as the shooter.
So Mr. Zelenski identified himself as the shooter. We know the 911 call was made from, but he made a 911 call at 10:20 and 2 seconds p.m., correct?
Correct.
I'm going to, the jury may have noticed there's a timer on the screen. I'm going to bring up what's been marked as Exhibit 36. Do you recognize this?
I do.
And what is it?
That's Riley Menente Powell on the ground on Van Street.
And is that, again, from your body cam?
It appears to be, yes.
And are you able to see the time? I just made it smaller, but are you able to, let me re-enlarge it. Are you able to see the time displayed?
Yes.
What is it?
It,
Converting it to central time.
sure. It'd be 10:23 and 31 seconds p.m.
So we just now are reaching 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Is that approximately the time between the 911 call being made and you first approaching
Yes.
Riley?
Yes, it is.
When you approached Riley, did it appear as though any first aid had been rendered?
It did not, based on his body positioning.
And
Well,
could you
I
explain
mean-
that a little more?
Sure. Based on the circumstances, at least from the dispatch call that someone had been shot, if you're going to perform first aid, the person would either be on their back
Oh,
or on
wow.
their side.
And is it true that, and for the sake of the jury, I won't play the video, but is it true that you, well, what did you do?
Wait, so we have the video, the body worn cam, which I can understand would be sensitive, but instead we're going to have this man's bias as to, what happened and what's going on. in there instead of a purely objective body worn camera. That's fishy to me. I don't know. Yeah, the whole question of why I don't get. I mean, but then again, I like Sailor Moon to an unhealthy extent as a nearly 40-year-old woman. So, to each their own. Just also don't tell my son that this is a possibility because he would ask for one, and I just see that ending badly for us.
At that point when you approached Riley?
When I approached Riley, I turned him over and I identified that there was what appeared to be a gunshot wound to the upper left-hand side of his chest, up by his shoulder. And I applied pressure with one of my hands to try to control the bleeding or stop the bleeding.
Oh, this poor baby cop. This bothered. Okay, and I'm going to take a time to do a really, like a little bit of a serious thing, but thank God for these officers that go in and see all this just horrific stuff. I mean, he turned the kid over. He was trying to render aid when, the parents weren't doing anything. So you can tell this was not an easy thing for him.
Were you able to observe that wound from the
Really?
position in which you approached Riley?
No.
So you had to physically move him over, roll him over in order to.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying that I want to go just to people watch in this competition, but I want to go to people watch just that competition. Can you imagine? It'll be like, oh gosh, swamp people. Whatever that TLC show is where they have the Cajun people that hunt alligators or critters for like money, it would be that. And I need to see a live TLC show about it.
I initially asked him to roll over, and he was unable to do so. So I physically grabbed his torso and turned him over.
Is that difficult? Physically?
Not terribly difficult, no.
Something, so it didn't take any real exertion on your part?
Oh, thank
I
you.
mean, I was providing all the effort.
Okay, Flux, I have to not stay serial, but this weekend when I was having a bad day, I got sucked into the part of YouTube that says if your hair dries frizzy and poofy, then it could possibly be curly. So I got all the stuff. And Mr. Mo doesn't know how much we just spent on stuff to make my hair curly because apparently there is a whole lot of like science behind this. So if you guys see me in a couple days and I look like Orphan Annie, it was semi on purpose. Just, welcome to Hair Chat with Mo.
Effort.
Back to Philip J.
Riley
Fry.
was not aiding me in any way in turning him over.
Okay. So I guess what I'm getting at is you're a fit young officer. Do you believe that?
Sir,
that
flirting on your own time. Also, grow a beard, sir, or a mustache. You can't be bald yet because you have a luscious head of hair. But if you're going to be believable as a police officer, I'm going to need you, Rabbit. I'm going to need you to grow a beard.
task could have been
I may or may
performed by
not have a
someone who
deep
is
and abiding
less
love for
physically
Super
able than yourself?
Troopers.
Absolutely.
Did anyone on the scene, or well, let's strike that. You said that there didn't appear to be first aid that had been rendered.
Correct.
As an officer, did you receive training in first aid?
Yes.
And in this situation, what is your role as an officer as far as
providing first aid?
Well, in this situation, as soon as the scene is secure, I would try to, in a gunshot scenario or in the incident of a wound from a gunshot, you would try to stop the bleeding until EMS arrives.
So
Look, I think it was his first day on the job, and he didn't realize that he had stepped right into a swap meet from hell, all with everyone on meth. So it says that the prosecutors say they weren't going to show the video because it shows the dead body. But honestly, I don't want this little guy's, you know, thing. I want to just see the objective video. I mean, I care about him in, like, the way I care about all 12-year-olds. I don't want bad stuff to happen to them, but I don't want yeah, he just seems like this was his first, like, ish went way bad case that he had to deal with. But, yeah, I don't my guess is the defense is gonna play it. But I think this one was the first one he did, and it's affected him pretty hard.
it, not to minimize your role, but it's essentially a temporary role until someone with more training can administer first aid. Is that
Not to say
accurate?
you suck
It
out
is,
loud,
yes.
but
And is that what happened in this situation?
Yes.
When you approached Riley and you were applying first aid, did you notice any weapons around him?
No, I did not.
Did you ever, at any point, find any weapons on his person, maybe that weren't immediately visible?
No.
Let me go back to Bill. You said that he admitted to shooting Riley?
Yes.
you are
Initially,
welcome. I hope you have
as
a
I was
good
walking
day.
down Van Street, I said, "Where's the shooter?" And I heard what I thought to be female voices from my right saying, "He's right here," and pointing at Mr. Zelenski. And then I asked Mr. Zelenski.
He's part of my high school intern program, where I teach your kids about real life and they help me with editing. Again, my local high school will not get on board with me doing a real life internship, which basically consists of like it's a 50-50 split of you teaching me things that everyone should basically know on the computer, and then I teach your kids how to, like, sew a button, change laundry, you know, do all the things, balance a check, but well, okay, Mr. Mo's gonna teach them that, I just stay within a budget, sort of. But, I can teach all the things.
Zelenski, "You shot him," and he said, "I shot him."
Did he give an explanation?
Yeah, he said, "I shot him. It was in self-defense."
And did you take that to mean that it was intentional that he shot him?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
I'll sustain.
Well, okay, no, Flux, see, what I want is an editor and a, Photoshop person I don't have to pay. So I'm willing to barter the life skills that I've learned in my nearly 40 odd years of living. I can teach. I know how to sew, I know how to can, I know how to, work on a budget and make meals. And I could just, get our youth ready for the real world, and they teach me all about the computer stuff. Yet the school just will not go for it.
Did he say it was an accident?
No.
I know, I think it's
Did
great, but my school is
he
like, "That's child labor."
offer any reason for not having given first aid to Riley?
So our
No.
defendant looks somewhat like a beanbag, I'm not gonna lie, like a
Was
deflated
there anything
beanbag.
that you could observe that would have prevented him from doing so?
No.
In fact, you mentioned securing the scene, right? And at that point, if Bill was the shooter, he
Awesome.
could secure the scene himself, correct?
Correct.
I can only see that adoption agency. So wait, you're married to someone else, but you're splitting custody with this Danish man. What in all the Walmart? No, we're just using him to teach us things about editing. I can only see this ending in a Lifetime movie for us, Baker, but it would be funny. And I get to pick who plays me, and I'm not sure who I would pick. The defendant is actually, while he looks kind of creepy,
What
he's
was
not
Bill's
making
demeanor?
his face is not in all caps today, so I think maybe his defense Yes. The defense talked to him about shaking his head and kind of making these faces, yesterday of what we could see of the trial because court TV is 93% or 97% ads and commentary and 3% trial. When law and cuck is your better
He
option,
seemed
it's really a
calm,
sad, sad world.
given the circumstances. Talking normally with me. Sort of like someone reporting an incident that they weren't involved in.
So that's how you categorize his tone and conversational content.
Yes.
Did he appear at all or express, strike that, did he appear at all distraught?
No.
And our defendant is in a wheelchair, but they haven't been real clear as to why he is in the wheelchair. And
What,
Flux, you missed it. The prosecutor who looks like Kathy Bates brought out a pimp cane with a frog on the end. The pimp cane did look as though the frog was being slightly rear-ended, impaled by the the cane. But this case has been a swap meet in Walmart in hell. Just the things that
was
you
Bill at some
I
point
can't.
placed into custody?
Yes, he was.
And what happened after that?
It is all sorts of
After Bill was handcuffed.
Flux. This was after, of course, she brought out her grandson's, BB gun that she done stole from him to be sort of a replica after citing in the entire jury and pointing it at the judge because prosecutors, I guess, are contractually and statutorily required in Wisconsin to cite in, civilians when they're doing their enactments. So she did that. Then the defense did it better. And then she brought out the pimp cane because my guess is that someone told her, like, stop citing in all the jury. But yeah, it has the level of
Handcuffed.
professionalism has been shocking.
I was briefly still rendering aid, and then I was asked by one of the deputies on scene to move a squad car so the ambulance could approach. So I went down Van Street, moved the squad car, and then I believe it was Deputy Thorpe, had escorted Bill to that.
And this is a good time to kind of grift because I don't think this is going to be a super long trial. But in my community section, I have a call out for any people of Walmart cases. This is a doozy to start out with, but if you guys know of a case that might turn out to be all of the what in the Walmart, put it in there. We will cover it if I have time, if there's a live stream of it, because, you know, no, he hasn't. I think he skipped straight out of middle school and he's just here like I pretended to be 26. I don't know
That
what
squad
happened.
car, and he was placed into Opaka City squad car.
And was there a camera inside of that squad car?
Yes.
Will you be playing
And,
that video?
I'm going to put up, this is on Exhibit 14. It will be, the title of the file will begin parentheses Bill in squad. And I'm going to ask you if you recognize.
Good Lord. This dude labels files like I do. Wild Bill in car, because that's what I would do.
um,
They are as good at tech as I am, so you know.
I apologize, my file is not loading.
They too are running a duct tape and prayer. Oh yeah, yeah,
Are you able
definitely.
to, you recognize?
Yes, I do.
And does this appear to be, will we
Oh
appear to
yes.
discuss the camera inside of the squad car?
Yes.
And do you recognize the individual pictured there?
Yes. It's William Zelenski.
And at that point, it looks like he buckled in.
Correct.
And you were in the squad with him as well, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
Are y'all gonna show the video? I feel like this is a lot of foreplay and no action. And not good. Never mind. We're just gonna.
I am going to.
It's subpar at best.
Portion of the video beginning at 30 minutes and 19 seconds. Sorry, 30 minutes and 14 seconds. And turn this on.
All the animals that they stole in the burglary are at Ashton's mom's house right now. She called to tell us there's venomous reptiles there. Yeah, snakes and lizards and crocodile are all stolen from the N1603 East Road.
Just to pause, this is a pause at 30 minutes and 45 seconds. Was that your voice that we heard responding to Bill?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to continue on the video.
And Ashton's mom said she discovered them after the police had left. That's where I was headed. Riley confronted us to go get those reptiles back.
So, did I hear correctly that Bill stated that's where he was headed to Ashton's mom's house when Riley confronted him?
That's correct.
Sir, all of those open tabs better
And you had
be
described
appropriate.
earlier Bill's demeanor and tone as though there was someone reporting an incident that they weren't involved.
Okay, I have to say something to this because we're going to get the typical not everyone grieves the same way. But when bad things happen in my family, I typically go to problem solving, flat sort of affect, how can I help, that kind of thing. So I am not at all super duper shocked that Bill isn't having a hysterical breakdown that he was involved in a fight that ended up with a person gravely injured and I guess according to him, he didn't know he was passed away at that time. So I can see him being very matter of fact with a police officer, but that's just me.
Just for the record, I stopped at 31 minutes and 2 seconds. Did that video or audio, is that representative of what you were referring to?
Yes, I'd say that reflected his demeanor.
Throughout the time that you were in the squad with him, did his demeanor change?
No,
So he had never at any point, again, seemed distraught or upset or anything other than calm.
no, he was calm and asked me about going to the bathroom and checking handcuffs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that also is a pretty good point. I mean, if he had any sort of officer training, he would know to relay the vital information and kind of leave the emotion out of it.
What happened next after he was placed in the squad and remained there for some period of time?
I'm unsure what you're asking.
Did you transport him somewhere?
Yes. Initially, my sergeant asked me to take him to the jail. Prior to getting to the jail, my sergeant asked me to take him to Theta Care in the city of Wapaka. And when we got to Theta Care, I parked out in the apron out in front of the emergency room.
And Bill's hands had blood on them.
Yes.
And do you know the source of that?
No, I don't.
Did he at any point indicate that he had a wound on his finger
Yes.
and that it was bleeding?
Yes, he asked me to check on it, I believe, multiple times.
And did you observe any I'm going to show you what has been
The prosecution is on like
marked as exhibit number
slow
8.
mode. Swear to goodness.
Do you recognize this?
Yes, that appears to be Bill's hands.
Does that look commensurate with the wound that you observed?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Did you observe or were you informed of any other injuries that Bill had?
No.
I will say these prosecutors do this trick where they slow down time. They'll like slow down the video and make these tussles look like they took 5 minutes when honestly, I mean, they it's like 1 minute, seconds even, and then something goes incredibly wrong. So I don't like the way they do that.
I have no further questions.
Ross,
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Shabilsky, you said you were sworn in as a police officer August 3rd of 2020?
That's correct.
Were you even
And
18,
you
sir?
had to complete some training to be a sworn police officer.
Yes, that's correct.
A really long course at, was that Fox Valley Tech?
North Central Technical College,
Is that the one in Green Bay?
Wausau.
Okay. There's several different ones around.
A
the state.
really long
Yep.
course. Was it a year?
It's the same
sir?
training that every other police officer has to go through.
Yes, it's the 720-hour law enforcement academy.
Now, you were the first officer that was on scene.
Correct.
And so when you got the dispatch, you turned on your squad lights. You were in your squad car.
Yes.
You turned on your squad lights.
Yes, I did.
You were in full police officer uniform.
Yes.
Same uniform you're wearing today.
Okay, y'all. So I just did calculator magic. So 720 hours, if you make that an 8-hour day, that is 3 months. Yeah, so super long means 90 days.
Not quite.
Similar.
Similar.
Have a badge.
Yes.
Have a patch that says police department.
Yes.
You have your service weapon.
Yes.
Immediately clear you are a police officer.
Yes.
Anybody there could tell you're a police officer.
Or one of the
Yes.
village people. I think you're
And you said you were, when you got the dispatch, you ultimately were driving down School Street.
Correct.
You were going really fast.
define
I
really
don't
fast,
recall
Your
how
Honor.
fast I was going.
You weren't driving the speed
That's what
limit.
I say every time I get
I don't recall
asked,
how
was
fast I
I
was going.
speeding?
Would, it,
Define fast.
would you assume you were driving the speed limit when you were responding to an emergency weapons call?
I would assume I was driving over the speed limit, but it was a very short distance.
And then you turned onto Van Street.
Correct.
And this was at, you said you were dispatched at 10:20, 10:21 p.m.
That's correct.
It's dark outside.
Yes.
You had your headlights
It's
on your
night
squad
time.
car.
Yes.
So when you turned onto Van Street, your headlights illuminated Van Street
Not the entire block.
because Van Street's really dark.
There's street lights, but it was pretty dark, yes.
There's a street light on School Street and Van at that intersection,
I believe so.
and then one at Shearer Street and Van Street.
I believe that's correct.
But those are the only street lights that are on Van Street.
Lawyers will never ask you questions. Well, good lawyers will never ask you questions that they don't themselves know the answer to.
I believe so.
And when you turned down to Van Street, you didn't go all the way down to Van and Shearer Street.
No, I didn't.
You parked about halfway down Van Street.
I might have went a quarter of that. Like when I turned off of school, I might have went a quarter of the way down Van.
So there's 3/4 of Van Street remaining before the intersection.
I think so.
So a fair distance away.
Yes.
And when you got there, your emergency lights are still activated.
Yes, they were.
Your headlights were still on.
Yes.
I would hope so.
You got out of your squad car
Yes.
Generally.
and you approached the intersection.
I started walking down Van Street, yes.
You didn't run down Van Street.
I did not.
You walked down Van Street.
Listen, he has shin splints. He couldn't help
when
it.
we
He was on a
saw-
profile.
In that screenshot of you coming to Riley's position, you had walked almost 3/4 of the way down Van Street.
Yes.
Had you been running, you would have been able to get there sooner.
That's correct.
Or if you had driven your squad car closer, you would have been there sooner.
Correct.
Yeah, he did.
Now, when
Okay.
you arrived, you said at some point Bill was on the other side of the road.
He was on my left-hand side. If I was walking down the center of the street.
And the vehicle, there was a vehicle on scene,
There was a vehicle parked on Van Street, yes.
and that was parked on the right-hand side of Van Street as you were walking down.
Correct.
And so Bill was on the left side,
Correct.
and Riley was a little ways behind the vehicle.
Yes.
And he was actually facing to the direction of your right,
Yes.
facing sort of the houses that are on the right-hand side of the road.
Yes.
Makes sense.
And there was 2 females on scene as well.
Yes.
The females were screaming,
Yes.
they were yelling.
Yes.
Of course.
And when you approached the scene and you saw Bill on the left-hand side, Bill was on the phone.
Yes, he was.
And in fact, he told you, I'm on the phone with 911.
He did.
I'm the one that called 911, I think is what he said.
Yes.
And
Again,
then you
why
went
aren't
over
we
to
just
West.
showing this video?
Yes.
So there was a lot going on.
There's a fair amount going on. Yes.
Pretty chaotic of a scene.
Very chaotic.
And at the time, you had only been a police officer about not quite 3 months.
Correct.
Oh, for flip's sake. You sent baby officer out there and he's
You were
going.
able to remain calm.
In a professional capacity, yes.
Because you've
Oh,
been
this
trained
poor
how
little
to remain calm in
guy.
those types of situations.
Yes.
Because you understand the importance of remaining calm.
Yes.
Remaining calm is good for the other people on scene.
It is.
Okay, whatever
You don't
this
want
face is
citizens
that
seeing
Wild Bill
police
is
officer
doing,
freaking out.
stop it. Stop it now.
No, I don't want that.
The calmer you are, the calmer other people may be.
Sure.
You have not been to
Remaining calm helps you
Friday.
determine the layout of the scene,
It does.
to pay attention to certain details,
Yes.
report them to other officers if necessary.
Okay, I don't know if anyone has law enforcement background in the chat or in Discord, but would a 3-month officer not have a field training officer with them? I just feel like baby cop needed like grizzled old cop with him. Take him out for, some whiskey afterwards.
Yes.
Get him started on lifelong alcoholism. I don't know, just something.
You testified that when you approached and you spoke to Bill, that you asked the question, who shot or who is the shooter?
I did.
And Bill responded, I did.
I asked the road, basically. I asked the entire scene, where's the shooter? And there was multiple voices. I believe the females on the right said, he's right there. And then Mr. Zelenski, I believe, said, I shot him.
And at that time, he's on the phone with 911.
Yes.
You testified that Bill didn't tell you why he didn't render aid.
If that was a question that I just recently answered, yes.
You testified Bill never told you why he didn't render aid. That's what you said.
Correct.
You didn't ask him why he didn't render aid, did you?
I did not.
And again, when you're trying to render aid, you're wearing your uniform.
Yes.
The lights from your squad car are visible.
Yeah.
And ultimately, additional police officers arrive on scene.
Yes.
Help you render aid.
Correct.
And those officers arrived in their squad cars
They did.
with their emergency lights on,
Yes.
wearing their police officer uniform.
Does he need a bucket?
Yes.
Look,
You
I'm
could tell they
my mom radar is going off like he is gonna upchuck here in a minute. So I keep looking for okay, we are real. We are real in this house. So I get one of my plastic mixing bowls. I put one of the shopping bags that I still get because I cannot remember to take in my cloth bags, even though they're in the car. One day I will get all of the things right. But he just looks like he needs a shopping bag bucket in hand. My mom senses like there's some upchuck
tell they
coming.
were police officers.
Yes.
Now, after you approached the scene and spoke to Bill and you found out he was on the phone, that's when you then approached Riley in the road.
Could you repeat that?
Sure. After you initially approached the scene and found out Bill was on the phone with 911, that's when you approached Riley on the ground.
Yes.
And as you're sort of leaning in towards Riley, you're still keeping an eye on Bill.
Yes.
And you tell Bill, stay over on that side of the road.
Yeah. I told him, stay over there, don't move.
And he did.
Well,
He did.
that's good.
He stayed on that side of the road.
Yes.
I believe that the defense attorney is trying to clear up. So, the state made a big to do about him being calm and not crying and not acting ratchet like I'm sure the two women on the side of the road were acting. I'm profiling, but based on the orange jumpsuit and the meth wrap, I'm going to go ahead and say they were acting ratchet. But Bill was a former police officer, so he would know to stay calm, to answer questions clear and concisely, to try to give a clear accounting of what happened. And he was probably more calm than Baby Cop, to be very honest with you. I mean, I don't know. It's just this whole case. They sent Baby Cop out. They aren't even
And
playing
It's
the
important for
body
people in these
footage.
situations to obey an officer's commands.
Yes.
If someone doesn't comply with your commands, it can make your job more difficult.
Yes.
It can make it more difficult for other responding officers.
Yes.
You testified that when you approached Riley, he was on the ground.
Yes.
And had he been standing up, he would have been facing towards the house on the right side of the road.
Had he been standing, yes.
And he was sort of slouched or slumped over.
Yeah, he was.
All of these questions could be answered if we play the body worn footage. Why are we as taxpayers paying for this BS if they're not even going to show it? We're going to do a point by point note taking of this.
His knees were on the ground. His torso was kind of over the top of his legs.
And at least we saw in the picture, at least one of his arms was under his chest.
I'd have to look at the picture, but
Sure, we can
Perhaps.
bring the picture back up. I think you have that. Did you print it up? Okay, I'll just use it.
36.
I feel like the defense is doing an actual good job, and the state kind of was like, is that this week? Oh, crap. Okay, well, here's what we have done.
Okay, because I don't see it. Oh, gotcha. Okay, they'll pull it up.
okay.
All right, so we pulled up exhibit, this was 36. So that's how Riley was when you first approached.
Yes.
And you can see at least his arm is, or at least his hand is under his chest.
Yes.
And it's hard to see, and I don't know if you can see, but I can't see his left arm or hand. Can you?
I cannot.
Okay. So you couldn't see if he had anything in his hands?
No.
You couldn't see what his hands were doing underneath his chest?
No.
And you said you ultimately rolled Riley over.
I did.
And
My boys are like, no, don't take a break from streaming, because whenever I take a quick break and I go off camera, I'm always telling them things to do, since it's usually them being super loud. So we have started making all the feral boys clean out cat boxes because they love the cats. But for many years, it's just been me doing the cat box. And with my leg, it's a little bit hard to. Well, we have 3 cat boxes because we have a herd of children and a herd of cats. But with my leg, it's harder to, just bend down and get to it. So they have been made to do chores, and they are like, "Mom, keep streaming forever."
And you checked to see if he was breathing.
Yes.
He was breathing.
I thought I heard an agonal gasp.
And you checked for his pulse.
I did.
And he did have a pulse.
I thought that he had a light
I was
pulse,
terribly
although
bad
my
at all
adrenaline at
the
time was
video
very
game
high.
things, even at the beginning.
Your adrenaline was really high,
Yes.
but you were still able to remain calm.
Yes.
And as you've been trained to do, you've checked people's pulses before.
Yes.
And in your experience, you felt a light pulse.
At the time, I believe I did.
Oh, did I pause it? Oh no, he's just standing there.
I have nothing further.
Redirect.
Thank you.
Can we let baby cop off? He looks like he's gonna vomit. I'm telling y'all, I'm getting that whole
Officer,
up Chucky kind of vibe from him.
you mentioned there, or you were asked about being calm and following your training. Could you describe what your training would actually dictate you do in this circumstance?
Sure. When I arrive on scene, like I previously mentioned, I want to make sure the scene is secure. So that's why I'm initially asking questions like, where is the shooter? Where is the gun? Because I want to make sure that I'm safe, other officers responding are safe, innocent persons are safe. So I want to make sure everything's safe before I begin to render aid. And that would be the next step.
And I
Yeah,
think
I
it's an
don't know.
important clarification. So you said you began with Wapaka PD in August of that year?
August 3rd, 2020.
And are you initially on your own, or are you assigned someone to train you?
You're on field training for a number of weeks. At this time, I was still technically on field training, but I was at the last phase of field training where you are on your own, and you are usually shadowed by a sergeant who comes to the calls that you are dispatched to.
And for how long had you been sort of on your own, or at least shadowed, and not having someone directly with you?
This was my second shift that I was on my own.
And had you ever encountered anything like this before?
No.
And so this isn't in any way a criticism, but isn't it true that you didn't secure the scene as you should have, but you instead diverted your attention to Riley?
That's correct. There were things I would have done differently if I had the knowledge that I have now, such as detaining Bill right away before administering aid instead of just commanding Bill to the curb. I would have detained him pending further investigation, and then I would have rendered aid.
And that's the textbook training, right?
Right.
Do you recall what led you to make that decision to go to Riley?
I just thought it was paramount at the time to try to render aid since it was a gunshot victim.
I still don't understand why we aren't just seeing the video. I
You didn't
don't.
know what
He seems
state as far as
traumatized.
whether he was living or dead or.
No, there were a lot of unknowns at the time.
And I feel like we'd get a better
And
idea unless it's something they both stipulated to that they weren't going to show the
when you
video.
approached Riley, did you observe any response to either your commands or your presence or any movement?
No, and I asked him, I actually said, hey, I said, roll over because that's another part of the safety protocol.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, he's doing a lot better. I just, again, maybe they stipulated and maybe like 2 of the people in the back court are family members of Riley that aren't incarcerated currently. But it seems like an odd thing to not utilize. If taxpayers are spending money on these body cams, then I think you should at least, use the body cams at some point, but I'm just a mo on the internet. I don't know.
Protocol is I would like to see their hands before I go about putting my hands on them in an incident like this. But since when I was speaking to Riley, since it didn't elicit any reaction, that's when I decided to take action and begin rendering aid.
So even though you hadn't fully secured the scene, you'd had some representations made to
Is
you
he looking to make
about
sure he did
who
his
was the
tie
shooter.
right? I feel like
You still chose, but
yeah,
you didn't
it
confirm it
does.
or secure the firearm. You still
She
chose to
is
go render
angrily
aid to
chewing
Riley.
some gum.
Yes.
Let baby officer off. He looks like he is about ready to just upchuck everywhere.
And there was some talk about on Cross about the lighting. At any point were you made aware of a doorbell video that recorded some incidents prior to your arrival?
I was. I didn't at the time I was on scene, I did not.
Yeah,
It didn't enter
that's
my
my worry.
mind what was being said, but from reviewing the body camera, I heard
Can we
someone in the
review the
background
body
say
camera?
something
Please.
along the lines of officer, I have it on camera or something like that, or I saw it, or
And did you ever review that?
the doorbell camera.
Yeah.
I believe I've seen it.
Please bring his supervisor
I'm
in.
going to pull
I
up
feel
what
bad for him. I want the like part of your job as a manager is to take some hard questions for your employees. But this poor baby cop.
designated item F under the folder, in an effort to be more clear for the record, under the folder of Monday in Exhibit 14, excuse me. Do you recall seeing this?
I
Wait,
have seen it.
now they're gonna show the
And-
daggone
I'm going to let it play, and when it's done, I'm going to ask if you can identify the individuals who are pictured.
Your Honor, I'm going to object outside the scope of Cross at this point.
Pretty
I
fair.
can certainly, if I'm allowed some leeway, otherwise I can.
You may play it, I'll overrule the objection.
Is it a rule in Wisconsin that you just have to be angrily chewing gum?
So I'm going to pause it here. This is at 6 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
How many individuals have you observed?
I believe there's 3.
And do 2 of them appear to have flashlights?
Yes.
Wait, I'm going to resume the footage.
So, do you believe you can identify those three individuals?
I know I can identify two for sure, and I believe I know the identity of the third person as well.
Let's just start with the two that you know you can identify.
One is Riley Menente Powell. One is Mr. Zelenski, and I believe the third is Tiffany Powell.
And of the three, were you able to observe which two
Of course,
had
I'm muted.
flashlights?
It's kind of hard for me to see on the video.
Okay, so what I said is, yeah, I definitely heard "Put it down, fight like a man," and the initial gunshot as a person is running this way, and you kind of see a flash of light enter the Ring doorbell. I thought there was maybe 2 gunshots, but that was just a flashlight. Thank you, Law and Seaward. We hate you, but you do provide clear footage, so we'll deal with you
Okay.
for now.
But was it clear that there were individuals that had flashlights?
Yeah, it looked like two of them had some sort of illuminated object.
Illuminated object. Poor guy.
In fact, at one point it passed in front of the camera.
Yes.
Do you believe that would be enough light for you to render the type of first aid that you rendered to Riley,
Yes.
absent any other lighting?
Yes.
Oh, for goodness sake. If he had rendered aid, they would say he's not a competent
Did you
aid
ever
renderer or
observe the
something.
firearm that was used to shoot Riley?
Only after the incident.
Okay, but you did observe it after the incident.
Yes, I handled it as evidence.
And and when you observed it, did you notice anything unusual about the firearm, particularly the end of the barrel?
Yes.
Did it have a rocket launcher
I
attached?
noted in my report that the end of the barrel had what appeared to be blood and possibly human flesh on it.
Okay, so not a rocket launcher.
That was put in my report.
So just to be clear, you're not a pathologist, right?
No.
So these are just
You're
your
not a
educated
rocket
guesses.
surgeon.
Correct.
One last question, just to make sure I understand. You used the term agonal breath.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I don't know the exact definition, but it's a gasp that you might hear a person's body trying to make sort of a forced breathing sound that you might hear. That's
It's the technical term for the death rattle. You know, those last final breaths that do not make traumatized cop have to relive this. Jerk face
kind of
prosecution.
indicates that someone's in a trauma situation.
They're not breathing under normal circumstances.
No.
As baby cop's adoptive
Usually
mom, I'm going to need you to stop traumatizing my baby.
Death.
Usually.
And just to be clear, whether you, since you had some hesitation about your assessment of that breath and the pulse, is that correct?
That's accurate.
We, on direct, talked about the time between the 911 call and you approaching Riley. You still,
Okay, chat, is it just you or me? But when they stand up to do their questioning, it looks more professional to me. Them sitting down and kind of like getting all scrunchy and comfy, it just kind of seems not professional. Like y'all, I am YouTubing today. I am as professional as y'all are liable to ever see me. But I'm also a YouTuber. If I were, a fancy lawyer, I would stand up and not look like a slob. But
after that period of time, over 3.5 minutes, observe some sign of life, you believe?
I think so.
Thank you, nothing further.
Anything further?
Thank you, Your Honor. And Officer Zelenski, you indicated that this was your second shift, not with another officer.
oh, poor baby
That's
cop, the
correct. It was my
second day
shift
on by
without
himself.
an additional officer in the same vehicle that I was operating.
Because after you were sworn in, there's a requirement that you have a field training officer with you for a period of time,
Correct.
a more experienced officer,
Correct.
one that you can ask questions of if needed.
Correct.
And this was, I think you testified, your first response to a situation of this type.
Yes.
Oh, poor baby lawyer.
Second shift on your own, first response to this sort of situation.
Yeah, maybe. I
you
don't
were able to
know.
remain calm.
Yes.
My guess it's a judge thing. Some judges really like, from what I have seen, very formal, very, almost performative. Like, I want you to have a standing objection where you stand up, but you can only say rule such and such, which would go. So my guess is that, look, the judge doesn't remember which way to put his hairpiece on. So maybe he's just like, y'all, we are just winging it and we will go with it.
You indicated that going back now with everything that you do know, you might have done things differently.
Yes.
That you would have first secured the scene
Yes.
to protect yourself from threats.
Protect myself, protect other officers, protect other persons.
And so securing the scene.
Well, I guess I didn't think about
securing
junk
any
in
potential
face. I don't know what was wrong
would
with
be
me.
first paramount thing that you need.
I am usually the first degenerate
Yes.
to think about
That's
something
in
like that.
your training is what now you realize you should have done.
Yes.
And after potential threats are secured, then go render aid.
Yes.
Your training tells you that's the proper steps.
Yes.
Because if there was still a threat there, a threat to you or others, it'd be hard to render aid if you were put at risk.
Yes.
You indicated that agonal breathing usually precedes death.
Yes, I did.
But
Oh, okay,
as you've
come
probably
on.
been trained, it doesn't always.
Listen, as baby cop's adoptive mom, we just need to get him off the stand. He needs to go have some chocolate milk and watch something happy and bury this trauma deeply under dark humor like the rest of us. But he needs a day where he can go nap
Correct.
and drink chocolate
Because
milk.
people can have agonal
Not
breathing
Ovaltine.
and be resuscitated.
Yes.
And agonal breathing means somebody at that point is still alive.
I
Yes.
know he does. He needs like a hug, maybe an emotional support
Maybe nothing.
beverage, or he needs to go to Build-A-Bear after this. I don't
Please
know.
step down. Is Officer Zelenski released?
From the state, yes.
Yes.
You're released. Why don't we take a recess for the morning then?
Okay, guys, I think what I am going to do, I know I said that I would not do an afternoon thing, but since we started late, I am going to take a quick, like maybe 30-minute break, stop this stream, start another one, and we will finish with this morning at least, because it looks like we've got about another hour left to go. So that is what I will be planning to do. So I will see you all again in about 45 minutes, get myself a chance to check on the wild feral children, make sure nothing has blown apart, needs my assistance, do some chores. Unfortunately, God love them, but my kids will take every towel. And I'm just saying, look, Mo's snapped episode is going to start with no toilet paper, empty milk jugs in the refrigerator, and not one goddamn towel for her to use just to get a shower. It really will. So I will see you guys back in about 45 minutes. I will go set up that stream and we will knock out this morning thing. And then Salvador and I will do a 6 or 7 p.m. Afternoon. Yep. I will be back in a little bit. So I will see you all in a minute or several minutes.